Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. This is William Saafir, your host, coming to
Hey,
you.
Walaguddin,
Yes, coming.
Sabir, and
Yes.
all right, and traveling with here with brother Yahya Hassan and Dawood.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're not going to have introductions at the moment. Uh, we will turn the mic over and very shortly to uh, brother Kareem-Abdul Salam out of Memphis, Tennessee, and he'll share with us the results of the very successful event this past Strong Seven over in Memphis at one of the community colleges there. Uh, Kareem, are you on board? And if you would uh, come on board and share the experience from last week, instructor would certainly appreciate that.
Salaam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah, doing well. Um, Apologize. I was having a little tough technical difficulty.
No problem.
Got that worked out.
Good.
Inshallah. Give me just a second. I have
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, of course, I wasn't able to make it, but uh, I felt the vibe all the way back in the ATL.
the ATL was well represented.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and we were very happy to see two brothers show up, because I know that was a kind of stressful trip trying to make it there that early that morning to get there on time, but they got there, so we thank Allah for that. Uh, Instructor Bilal asked me just to give you all a little brief update on.
No, I understand Tawhida was there too. Sister Tawhida, Wali's wife, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
right,
yes.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
yeah.
Because I saw her taking some nice shots, camera shots,
Awesome.
video and still shots included, and hoping that she gets a chance to share some of those as well. I did inform Instructor Bilal that I had some shots that I had uh, acquired. I didn't take them myself, but the cameraman for the campus actually took some shots and made them available online. And I was able to get some of those shots.
Great.
And I put them into a PowerPoint just to make them quick and be able to share them with the learners. Okay, this was the theme of the program, focusing on the true human for a better tomorrow. And I couldn't think of a better person to invite to speak on this particular topic than International Instructor Benjamin Bilal. I think he did excellent presentation on this topic. And I'm saying that based on the feedback that I've gotten so far from the people who attended. And I didn't realize that uh, someone had actually streamed the whole presentation live via Facebook. I just found that out today. Someone from Memphis had actually streamed it. And so other believers here had a chance to see it who didn't have a chance to get on campus to see it live. And so this was the promo. Everybody knew they had this picture. And this is the graphic that we use this year for what we call Most in Black. And just a little background, it used to be called Men in Black when before this legislation had changed that prohibits affirmative action in any kind of way. So all of our literature that referred to just men only or African American males only, we had to try to upgrade kind of quickly. Okay, so this was the program that was handed out. This young lady, Dr. Carol Ash, the VP of Academic Affairs, we had invited the president of the college to come but she had an out-of-town engagement that she had booked already. But Dr. Ash did a good job of giving warm, welcoming comments. And she actually stayed for the whole program. Normally, when they come in, they'll do their thing and they maybe stay about 30 minutes, and you look up and they're gone, you know. And I asked her to sit at the head table with Instructor Bilal and I, and she said no. And I thought right off the top, oh, you need a quick exit. But she informed me I intend to stay for the whole program, and she did. And as I witnessed just watching her reactions, she seemed captivated for the entire program. This is Instructor Bilal once he got up to speak, which was right after the warm welcoming comments from Dr. Ash. This is him in his mode. He was, when he says sometimes strap in, hang on. Well, he was off and running at this point. Okay. This picture is one of the brothers in the program. He's an African brother. I think his hometown is Guinea, and I guess he kind of surprised everyone when he came in with his hometown gear on. You know? But we encourage that. Keep your culture. And that's myself and Instructor Bilal. I think this was during the welcoming comments, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. These two sisters are from Memphis, Linda Muhammad Furqan and Lydia Muhammad. Now, some of you may know these two sisters because they've been around our community for ages. Lydia used to work very, very closely with Imam W.D. Muhammad. And I think Linda's husband used to do security for Imam Muhammad. And from what I understand, he was on the security team for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as well. But they are big supporters of our program, and they just about everyone that we put on. Okay, this is our college, Southwest Tennessee Community College. We've taken on this new mantra, the Workforce Solutions Center. Reimagine Southwest Tennessee Community College. I think all colleges around the world are going through this reimagining process, trying to restructure and be able to service the community much better. Now, this is a picture of myself and Instructor Bilal. We were sitting there, and this young man came in. He's a member of the Masjid al-Muqmanoon, Brother Jamil Ahmed. He kind of shocked me because we'd been in conversation and he was talking like he might come, but when he walked through the door, it kind of surprised us. Okay, so Jamil is one of the staunch Arabic teachers there in the masjid. This was after the presentation. These two sisters, actually, they had posted these pictures. Linda, the sister to the left, to my left, had posted these pictures on her Facebook page, and I was able to download them from there. But once Imam or Instructor Bilal had finished his presentation, he got back in his travel clothes. Okay, because we didn't have much time in between the program and his flight leaving. Okay, just more pictures of the same. Now, this is actually during the session, as you can see. I thought it was well attended. Nice venue. That auditorium holds about 250 people. We didn't have that many there, but when you count the number of people who watched via Facebook, then that number grows exponentially. And I think that video may be still available. This was afterwards. The young man wanted to take pictures with Instructor Bilal. As you can see, they were gathered all around him, more the same. And I think that picture is to my left, brother with the hat on, I'm sure is familiar to all of y'all. And Brother Wali Udin, he was one of the brothers that traveled from Atlanta, and we had to give them special recognition during the program to make sure people knew how far people would travel to see and hear Instructor Bilal. These are just academic excellence award. This is one of the recipients. He also received a Grit Award. Now, the Grit Award doesn't necessarily mean you excelled academically. The thing about the Grit Award is that you demonstrated that no quit attitude, which is what grit really represents, resiliency. When you fall down, you get back up, you keep striving until you get the job done. This brother's working, he's what they call it, EMT technician with the fire department, soon to become a member of the fire department. And this was taken actually from a video that had Ezekiel Abdullah. If you could see him holding the camera right there on the right-hand side of the picture, he was taking a little video clip, it appears, and they were to catch him doing that. He traveled also from Atlanta. Okay. So it was just a lot of picture taken after the event. Some of our excellent scholars, this young brother, excellent scholar, who had won a certificate for academic excellence. And the same shot from the front. Of course, you recognize the brother in the hat on the end. This young brother, very dynamic young brother, he actually won the top award, which he's holding in his hand. It's called the Almost Award. And as I told the audience, not almost in terms of barely making it. I almost got in. No, it's not like that. This is the award that encompasses everything that the program is about, the Almost Award. So this young brother, Rico, has a dynamic personality. He's majoring in nursing, which I think is an excellent career path for him. This is one of the Grit Award winners. I want to show some of our students. This brother has kind of like a real quiet nature, but he has a don't quit attitude, which is why he won that Grit Award. And some of the other students, some of these brothers are actually working, but they decide to come back to school to enhance or increase their skills. That's just common among any community college. This is one of the sisters. She's a Muslim sister. She's a faculty member, a professor, and she won the 2024 Most Faculty Teamwork Award. Certainly, we couldn't do it without the faculty. We have to get them involved. She's ready to get involved and cares about people. So we decided to award her this particular award. This is my last picture. This young brother was another outstanding young man. He actually had some tragedy. He got the Grit Award, but he finished his graduation requirements back in December, and he's already enrolled in the University of Memphis trying to pursue his career. But during this coursework at Southwest, he lost his brother. They were like a year apart, and he had to lay out for about 2 semesters, but he came on back with a vengeance. I mean, he was really applying himself and got on out, you know. So I just want to share a few of those pictures with you as a part of introducing this piece and providing an overview. And I'm open for any questions that you may have. Thank you, Shukran. Salaam alaikum.
Walaikum salam. And we want to congratulate you, of course. Kareem, you put a lot of time and effort. I know what goes into putting on any kind of a program, man. And I know the battles you had to face in order to get it all done. We certainly want to express our appreciation and congratulations for a very successful event. You know.
Thank you, Shukran. I appreciate that.
Alhamdulillah. And we can never really measure the success of an event in terms of the number of bodies that actually show up. It's often done too often. People like to say, give the numbers as a means of impressing people, but it's the quality of information that's given and the impact that it makes upon just one soul is enough. So again, thank you from myself, my family, and of course from the learners for your untiring efforts to make Nunetics a factor in the lives of people in the city of Memphis and beyond. All right. Again, I see that Wadi Udin, I see that you're present at Masjid Al Bayina, so it seems. Would you have someone please put the address and the time and the announcement for the March 2nd activity that's coming up on this coming Saturday, to put that in the chat?
March the 2nd. Yeah, I'm not there, William. I'm at Ezekiel is there, and they should
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Walaikum salam. Ezekiel, make that happen, please. Have someone put the address and the time
We can put that in. Don't do that
for the event. The event that's coming
for the event coming up, Abu Bakr.
Yeah, they're going to can do it.
Yeah. Please type that to the chat there, if you would. We appreciate it.
He's doing it.
Okay, great. Awesome. And we'll move.
Yeah, but I gotta find it, and I'm just gonna copy and paste.
Okay, great. We appreciate that.
He's getting it done, William.
Okay, great. Okay, so everyone can mute themselves, and we are anxiously awaiting International Instructor Benjamin Bilal to take us into part 2 of the presentation that was began just the last Strong 7 at our last class, and it has to do with 3 levels of peace. So I'm gonna take this talking stick and put it in some very capable hands. Instructor, it's all yours, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, instructor. And thank all of you out there in the listening audience. We're still letting people into the classroom. And this is a wonderful day and a wonderful situation for those who have chosen to be a part of this linguistic adventure called Nunetics. If you don't know anything about Nunetics, I would ask that you just put on your thinking cap and strap in whatever you have, a belt around your waist, take it off and strap it around the chair you're sitting in, because we're going to go into some places and some spaces today that we don't normally travel into. What is actually happening, and just so that you keep up with the momentum of what it is we're doing and where it is we're going, and the necessity for getting there and getting there on time. The world is moving very, very quickly right now. And there are a series of events that will be happening locally where you are, and also worldwide where we all reside, that are going to be earth shaking. And for some people, earth shattering. And I, for one, do not want you to be caught blindsided by many of the events that are right on the precipice of beginning to happen. Some of them are happening already as we speak, and we're just not aware of them yet. The world of what I like to refer to as social manipulators, the world of people who have consciously decided to manipulate people on purpose, not the ones that were doing it by mistake. I'm talking about ones who have drafted an actual plan, and this plan has been in effect for actually now for hundreds of, maybe thousands of years. Imam Muhammad once referred to this plan as the Jacobite plan for world domination. That plan is still in effect. In fact, it's more so in effect now than it ever was while Imam Muhammad was living among us from 1933 until 2008, 33 straight years. So my role, as I see it, is to just keep you updated. My role is not to make you do anything. It's not to change your mind about anything. I'm not in charge of your mind. You are. So you have to be the one to make those salient decisions concerning your life path, your life journey, and what it's going to take to get you to where you believe Allah wants you to go. I'm just providing the information. Do not shoot the messenger. And that's if you don't like what I'm saying. But I found out over the course of these many years that there are many people who love this information. All right. And I see that Ezekiel has just put the information in the chat. Now, that information is not just fly-by information. That's information that is going to be also promoting this Nunetics method. And the Imam there, as you know, you heard from him last week, Rahim. He's doing an excellent job of holding down that class. He started the class on his own. He continues the class on his own, and he's going to be doing that class until either the building shuts it down or he shuts it down, whichever comes first. Hopefully it's the building, because we can go to a lot of other places. And he is just so expert at presenting this Nunetics method and getting it across to the point where he actually has graduates from that class that we heard from also a week or two ago, as well as having heard from him. So I'm very proud of the effort taking place there in College Park, Georgia, specifically Atlanta area. Those Atlanta Muslims in this Nunetics experience journey, they are out of this world. And we're going to be seeing that same display of connectedness with this logic. We're going to be seeing it very soon in other parts of the United States. Some parts are ready right now. Some places in Cali and some places in Texas. These people are chomping at the bit to begin their seed cast programs. You're going to be seeing that hopefully, inshallah, with the help of Allah. We're going to be seeing the first of those seed cast programs beginning with Mahir and also continuing with people too numerous to mention. I have at least 5 people right now, Wali Udine included, and several of the females in the class. And the beautiful thing is that the learners are now beginning to do what we've been encouraging them to do now for a couple of years, and that is take on a study buddy. Thank you to Michael Chenault out there in California. Thank you to Nawa, brand new, and she's already on that train, studying with her study buddy. And that's going to be the thing that helps to expedite the learning of this Nunetics method process. And that's where you're going to see the progress. So stick and stay, and let's get this linguistic party started. Give me just one moment to pull up my notes. Okay, so we begin officially with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and that is with Allah's signature, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. We greet all of you with the greetings of peace that obligates each and every one of us to keep the peace in the words Salamun alaykum. Those words are directly from the Quran. They're not from scholars. We're not trying to fool you into believing that Muhammad the Prophet said Assalamu alaikum. He would never have said Assalamu alaikum, as 90-something% of the Muslim world now are doing. Unknowingly, they don't know that that greeting is not in the Quran, that the greeting in the Quran for Muslims and for others who want to maintain that peace, that greeting is singular and uniquely Salamun alaikum, or just simply Salam alaikum. Go check it out for yourself. Google it, as they say. As Sheikh Google, how often is Assalam alaikum used in the Quran for us greeting each other socially? And if Google or AI or whoever's running the program, they're going to tell you 0. It's in there as an attribute of Allah, Assalam, but never Assalam alaikum, that attribute be upon you as a responsibility. That's what alaikum means. Allah says alaikum anfusakum, that your own souls obligate you. See? So alaykum represents something that obligates you. And Allah would never and has never obligated any of us humans to be responsible for as-salam. Do you know how big that piece is? As the definitive peace? Oh, heck, I can't even keep peace in my house. You want me now to be responsible for peace in the universe? That's what as-salam is. It's the one who is calibrating and calculating peace as an operating system in the cosmos itself. You think you that big and bad, brother? Keep on greeting each other with as-salam alaykum. Keep wasting your time with that instead of what Allah gave you as a salutation. Salamun, generic peace that you can handle. You just need a piece of that and handle your peace. That's all. You can't handle the whole thing. A definitive peace, the biggest concept for peace, you can't handle that. That's Allah's job. Stop trying to do Allah's job. I'm coming at you a little bit different now because I've tried all other ways. And some of you have said to me, well, you know, I'm just so used to saying that. Come on, no. Follow Al-Quran is the point. Don't follow your own whims or your own sheikhs and get embarrassed or afraid of what people are going to think about you just because you said something a little bit different but correct. Don't be like that, people. Please don't be like that. That's not what we were fashioned for. Don't be like that. Most of they like to talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Do you know that he was the first one that I heard say, Salam alaikum. I greet you in peace with Salam alaikum. Then in his 44-year career, he went back and forth. Sometimes he said, As-salam alaikum. That's a little bit different than as-salam alaikum. I don't know if he knew what he was doing, if he did it on purpose, based on the people, the cold-hearted people he was talking to very often. He said, As-salam alaikum. So don't say that either. And please don't say what Imam Muhammad told you not to say in 1975. Too many of us was greeting each other with Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum, brother. Salam alaikum. We didn't know what we were doing, but now that we have insight into Al-Quran, you know, it's like the many imams that I have heard recite Al-Fatiha. And they recite the rest of the Quran. From Al-Baqarah to An-Nas, some of them are hafiz, meaning people who have actually memorized the entire Quran, some of these imams. And they do such a beautiful job with their tajweed and their tartil and all of these other methods for correctly pronouncing, but they still don't pronounce Al-Fatiha correctly. I want you to pay more attention to what's going on around you. They still make flagrant mistakes in the pronunciation of Al-Fatiha. Now, how could that be if these people are so good at Arabiya? It's because when they first learned Al-Fatiha, they didn't know any Arabiya, and they learned it based on what they were hearing coming from somebody reciting it, and the person reciting it more than likely was reciting it incorrectly, or the person hearing it was hearing it incorrectly, but they never changed it once they knew better. They didn't use all of that knowledge that they gained from studying the correct pronunciation and tajweed and tartil and all of that and the stops and the goes and they didn't use all of that knowledge to correct the first thing that they learned. And that's exactly what we're doing with As-salamu alaykum. We're not using the knowledge that we know now is incorrect in that pronunciation of that attribute of Allah. We're not saying, well, now that we know it's wrong, let's go back and correct it. What many of us are saying is, well, that's the way we learned it, brother. And Imam Muhammad is the one who told us, and Sheikh this one and the other one and the third one, they backed it up. And everybody in Mecca, so you start going all overseas when you can't prove your point from the Quran, as though they have like some kind of magic wand that makes all of that all right. No, Imam Muhammad, as you know, could have been wrong. And I'm sure as I'm sitting here, I know, I'm not saying I believe, I know if Imam Muhammad were here, he'd be agreeing with me. In fact, He told you what I'm telling you. I heard it in a recording. He said it's truly not assalamu alaikum. He said the greeting in the Quran is actually salamun alaikum. He said it's generic. But then he said behind that, to be in all truthfulness and fairness, he said, but it really doesn't matter. Now, that was his opinion. That's not my position, that it doesn't matter. I think it does matter what's in the Quran and what's not in the Quran, as something that we're going to use and validate and pass on to our children and grandchildren. I think it does matter. If it didn't matter, Allah would have used both versions in the Quran. Sometimes he would have said Salamun alaikum, other times he would have said Assalam alaikum, if it didn't matter. But I know that it matters. And may Allah forgive each and every one of us for the mistakes that we make in everyday kinds of things that we're passing on as information. Especially me. I'm the first one to point at me and say I've made many, many mistakes. And I ask Allah for forgiveness for those mistakes. But trust me when I tell you, each and every single time that I found out that I was incorrect, I backed up the train and I let those passengers off. I said, you can't go any further in that with me. If you want to go further, I'm not making a left at that next junction. I'm going to be making a right. Now, if you want to stay on the train because it's in the trajectory of where you were trying to go, welcome aboard. All aboard who's going aboard. All right, so that's enough of that. Whew. Yeah, the peace does obligate me to keep the peace. So today, incidentally, we're going to be talking about the 3 levels of peace. We started last week with part 1. This will be part 2 of that subject. This is Sunday, February 25, 2024. And it's also so many years, if you do the math yourself, so many years since the passing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He passed on February 25, 1975. Pardon me, 1974. And Imam Muhammad, no, I'm wrong, 1975. He passed on February 25, 1975. Imam Muhammad came into his position of leadership one day later, February 26, 1975. So we're kind of celebrating a sort of anniversary. We don't like to celebrate death, but we can acknowledge fruitful transitions of energy because that's what that represented. Old energy going out served its purpose, new energy coming in, establishing a purpose. And one of the major purposes was to learn the Quran in a way that supports what the Quran itself calls al-fitra. Al-fitra simply represents nature as we observe it and as we draw information out of nature. There has to be something coming out of the fitra that's designed to actually teach you and condition your mind to become closer and closer in contact with the language of nature. That language is what we're referring to now by the Quranic term fitra or al-fitra. How things are designed, how things look, the patterns is what we're talking about. How Allah designed everything in creation to support patterns, even invisible things support patterns. When we talk about air currents, as meteorologists or just people discussing the airflow of, how cold it is outside or which way the wind is blowing, be careful, brother. There's a wind coming behind us that might blow your hat off of your head. You don't see the wind, but you feel its presence because the wind has a pattern. It's easterly wind, westerly wind, southern winds, northern winds, and these things are invisible, but they still have direction. And if you understand wind to symbolize your spiritual life, then understand that although you can't see your spiritual life, I can't look at you and see, I'm not going to judge by how much you hooping and hollering in the church and say, oh, he's full of spirit. No, that's not spirit, that's emotion. Spirit is a graduation in the emotions. When you can be totally emotional right here and be feeling it inside of you, feeling a rise taking place inside of you, chemically, invisibly. So that when you leave that lecture, or when you finish reading that book, or particularly when you finish helping those people with that good deed that you're in the process of doing, oh man, ain't no hooping and hollering and catching no ghost or nothing behind that, because we're not talking about pure emotionalism. We're talking about spirit which spirals to higher levels and degrees of expression. And it can all be going on while you are sitting right there in that Atlanta Masjid class, or wherever you happen to be in the world. Brother Hoods and these other people, they're from outside of the continental United States, but they can experience that same evolutionary spirit welling up inside of them and spiraling above the emotions, above the instincts, above even the intellect, to connect and reconnect with cosmic stuff. That's what we're talking about. That's the raising of the Salat for real. When your spiritual life, when the mind that you have directly connected to Allah's cosmos, when that mind begins to spiral and you begin to see new things. See, the higher you get, you're going to be seeing things from a different perspective. When you look down from up there, you're going to have what they call a bird's eye view. And it's not like the horizontal view. The vertical up and down view is not like the east to west, west to east view of things. The vertical view is much more comprehensive. That's why we ask Allah in Al-Fatiha to guide us along as-sirat al-mustaqim. And sirat is not just a path per se. The sirat is a vertical path. It's a path that begins on the ground like the airplane, but as it taxis down the runway, it begins to take on vertical climb. That's what they call it, climb. Yeah, sounds a lot like kalima, doesn't it? Climb. Yeah, you need the kalima in order to climb in the vehicle that is traveling up the Sirat al-Mustaqim. I haven't even gotten in my notes, and you're already excited about what I've said thus far, because you're true learners, and I appreciate you. So the three, I said tree, but it's the same word if you understand linguistics. The tree is made of three parts. The three levels of PEACE. This is part 2 on this Sunday, February 25, 2024. I am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, and I'm ready to get this linguistic party started. I'm so excited. But it's all in here. It's not out here, and I'm not going to knock anything off the desk or off the wall. I hope I can get that excited, but that would just be emotional. And I want to present to you something that is going to introduce a new way of elevating the emotions. You're going to hear about it in this particular presentation. Now, let's start by talking about that word peace and what it represents. Peace is a consciousness. It recognizes that it is merely a part of something which operates optimally only when it has secured its place within the whole. Compare it to a puzzle piece. I know they're spelled differently, but they indicate the same thing. That if you are searching for peace, you're not going to be able to come into that peace adequately unless the pieces around you in other people and what they're searching for, unless they come into and find and secure their peace, P-I-E-C-E, then none of them will really adequately have the P-E-A-C-E, because the concepts are related. P-E-A-C-E and P-I-E-C-E are consonantally connected, and in this case sound exactly like the other. And it's a consciousness, and you already know what the word conscious means. Con means with, chis means choice. So peace is able to be secured as long as we are operating upon the platform of choosing. being able to recognize what's good for ourselves and then include that piece into the overall scheme of what our life is supposed to be representing. If a person's life is representing warfare, division, stupidity in some cases, then that's a person who will never, ever reach the level of peace that we're discussing, nor will that person ever come into what the Quran is inviting them to as the Muslim life. Muslim does not mean somebody who took Shahada. Sorry, that's another one of those things that I'm going to be throwing out every now and then, even if it makes some people uncomfortable. It does not represent only those people who have taken what they call Shahadatain. There's no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. Those people. That's not what it means. Let us continue and you'll come into a better understanding of what Salaam as peace actually represents. This peace that actually becomes a consciousness once it is activated. It's not even a consciousness when it first begins. It is an awareness. We'll discuss the difference between those two in a moment. Peace recognizes that it is merely a part of something which operates to its optimum capacity only when it has secured its place within the whole, just like that puzzle piece we're discussing. When you put that puzzle piece in its piece on the table, in the puzzle, you go, wow, that's a barn. I didn't know without this big piece, I didn't know that was going to be a barn. I didn't know this was going to turn out to be a tree that looked that tall because you had missing pieces. And once you found the piece and you secured that piece firmly into the position that was cut out for the piece, if it looks like another piece, but it's not really tailored for that spot, you're going to be trying to fake and forge that piece into it. You're just tired of doing the puzzle. You're trying to press it. We used to break off chips of the thing, children trying to put that piece there. We knew it didn't go there. And that's how we are with people, trying to force ourselves into situations, into groups, into relationships. And we know we don't belong there. we get the shoehorn. We try to shoehorn ourselves into a relationship. And we know we don't fit that shoe. So you'll have no peace. That was nicely said, instructor. Thank you, instructor. So our objective should be to develop a permanent state of mind which reflects a condition of peace. That's the objective, dear learners, to develop. It doesn't just fall out of the sky onto you. You have to actively develop. And as soon as you start actively doing this, that's when the awareness of peace that each and every infant has within the womb of its mother, they have an awareness of peace. Okay? But when they come out of that womb, the peace has been broken. Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. Peace it is until the rise of the dawn, the new light. That breaks the peace. But it's breaking the peace in order to bring you into a higher elevation that will supersede that peace and administer over and protect the initial peace that you came into. So it's going to develop a permanent state of mind. That's what we're talking about now when we talk about Salaam, when we talk about peace in the way that we're discussing, we're talking about developing a permanent state of mind which reflects a condition of peace. At the center of all action is stillness. Stillness. And it is from there that all actions proceed. So you can't have a procession. You can't have movement. You can't have a trajectory from this space into a different space until you first have stillness. A train, a plane, a boat, any means of transportation that you can name, you can't get on it unless it's first still. It has to begin in a position of stillness. Think about that. Train has to stop on the tracks, open up its doors, rest, refuel, all of that stuff. That's the human life that's being reflected in those activities. Sometimes the train would just be sitting there with the motor off. You think it's broken down, or you think it's not going anywhere, or you got to ask the guy, is this the train to St. Louis? When are we leaving? Oh, be patient. We're waiting for some more people to come aboard. All aboard. Who's going aboard? Right? So that's the center, the middle of all actions. Even the actions that we undertake when we wake up in the morning and stretch and go eat our breakfast and read the morning paper and then go to work or whatever we're going to do from there. It began from a position of stillness in the bed. You can't even tell us how you got from laying on your side to laying on your belly in just those couple of hours you've been asleep. Your whole brain has left the station. That's how Allah designed us. He begins everything from a position of rest. Even when you die, they say rest in what? Peace. You see the connections that we're making for you today? So we referred to this stillness earlier as the dielectric inertia plane of existence. The dielectric means not electric, and not electric means that it's not moving. There's no waves there. See? It's flatlined, as they would call it in the hospital when people die. It's flatlined. It's not boop, 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 boop. It's not the wave. It's boop, flatlined. Directing your conscious attention to that serene point within your mind will bring you closer and closer towards this peace. So Instructor Benjamin Bilal has decided today to give you some tidbits and some insights into things you can practically practice in order to bring your individual life, your individual mind, and your individual behavior into a fitra-based peace. Just follow the bouncing ball of this logic. Practice this concentration daily. Don't let a day go by. Instructor Bilal does it. Just don't let a day go by when you don't do the things that I'm suggesting right now. You practice this every day and you will feel an absolute change in how you think, how you feel, and how you act. You're also going to be influencing how other people think, feel, and act when they are in proximity to you. They won't be able to do just anything because your higher vibrations of frequencies will be overruling their lower vibrations, their lower desires. They'll either have to leave you, get from around you because they can't take it. It's too powerful. Or they're going to have to acquiesce and begin to themselves come into a position of rest so that they can also begin to grow in dimensions from that point on, and they'll want to be around you more than you'll want to be around them. Not because they're bad people, it's because their frequencies have not yet adequately matched yours. If I opened up the phones and asked you to tell me whether you've experienced this, I'd have an overload of people testifying to what I'm saying right now. I know it. Don't do that. But I know that you're on the other side of this lecture, listening and saying, that's happened to me. Because many of you have told me that it's already happened to you. And that's a great thing, a great indication of your growth and development. So you will witness your own internal evolution. Now, what's the working description for the word Rabb? And I want you to notice that the This word Rabb is all over the Quran. From beginning to end, literally, from the first surah to the last surah, you're going to find that term Rabb. And I told you that it represented the movement of something involutionary and evolutionary. There's an involutionary growth taking place in each and every one of us, meaning things that are happening on the inside. Whenever you go inside of yourself, whenever you start thinking about what you're thinking about your thoughts, your internal conversations that you have all day long, but you're not really being conscious of those conversations. Whenever you hear those voices in your head, that's you, mostly. Every now and then it'll be your mother reminding you, just in your own head, I told you to stop and get those groceries, boy. Well, how come you coming home with candy? But that's a different voice. I'm talking about the voice that most of us adults hear when we hear moral directions. Don't do this. You should do that instead of doing the other thing. That's a moral voice that's communicating with you, and it's communicating with you in your voice, the voice that you recognize most readily. And within that internal conversation is where Allah as Rabb is doing his thing. Because that's what's responsible for grounding you internally and then for building things from the ground externally around you. And that's how your life is able to reflect evolution as we've been discussing it. You first have to have an involution taking place within your thinking mind. It's quiet. Nobody can see it. You're the only one who's recognizing it, and you don't know what it's all about, Alfie. You only know that you're being kind of summoned sometimes to do things or to say things to people or to say things to yourself as a conversation within your own head. All of that is a part of involution. And then following involution, when you have to deal with the world itself, when you have to deal with the social organizations of people and places and things that you do on a daily basis, that's when that involutionary growth will manifest its power most readily in the evolutionary activities that you are doing and that you are benefiting from and that other people are benefiting from because you introduced them to it or you taught it to them or you participated with them in that thing. Now the whole environment that's surrounding you is experiencing this wonderful evolution. That's Rabb at work in you. I didn't say around you. I said that is Rabb, Allah as Rabb operating not only around you, but in you, so that what's around you can be affected by your personal evolution. That's how you get inventions. Yeah, that's how people invent things. That thing wasn't here before. That person got that spark of intuition to create that or to invent that. That's Rabb operating, I said again, inside of you and then reflecting its brilliance, its majesty in things around you. Alhamdulillah. So you'll be witnessing that. And you'll be conscious of that evolution. You will become privy to the Rabb operating in you. Now, the permanent state of peace, the one we were just talking about, that's called the Salaam, that's a temporary state of peace. That begins as an awareness, but when it begins to evolve into a consciousness, the consciousness then has to take on a new title. So it goes from simply being called a Salam and Muslim to being called Aman and Mu'min. Aman and Mu'min are from the same consonantal connected roots. And it's a permanent state. When we choose to dwell there in the Mu'min state, and we choose to do so for our protection, It serves as a fortification for all things valuable, beginning with our family and community concerns. So pay attention to this carefully. The Muslim part of it, when you begin to entertain ideas in your own head that says, I need to chill, as my hero post. I just need to chill. I'm getting in trouble with my mouth, the words I'm choosing, the people I'm looking at, the way I'm looking at them. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at that girl the wrong way. I'm looking at his wife the wrong way. I better chill. Chill means be still. And you have to do that in the beginning. You have to concentrate on putting yourself, your life, in a condition of dielectric inertia plane mode. You got to turn off the motor and just sit still. Once you do that, then you can begin to consciously direct your attention to the mu'min in you instead of just the Muslim in you, the one who says, I don't want no static. Don't do that. You can go way beyond that into an area that says, I'm going to allow my life to reflect the peace and security and the trust that Allah intended me to reflect as a Khalifa fil ard, as a motivator, as a custodian, as a caretaker of this human life. That's when you become mu'min. And if you look in the surah by that name, al-mu'min or al-mu'minun, I want you to look at how Allah uses the word that they are mistranslating as believer. The believer shall eventually win through that weak stuff, that weak translation. I'll give you a better one in time. But understand what I'm saying. Look at everywhere where Allah references the mu'min as opposed to when he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, from the same root, aman. But it has a different connection in the logic. When you're reading about the mu'min, Allah has nothing bad to say or even suggest that the mu'min will do, has done, or will do in the future. Everything is Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The mu'min, mu'minun, the mu'minun, they're the ones winning through. They're the ones being triumphant. Muflihun, al-muflihun. From muflih. Muflih means farmer. Farmer. So Allah is saying that the farmers are winning through. But what are we farming? Plants? Raising animals? That's on the physical level. What are we farming psychologically is the question. Because whatever we're going to be farming, if we follow Allah's outline for how to develop and evolve life, particularly agricultural life, Allah says it's already a done deal. You've won. You've been successful. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. فَلَحَ. Successful. Those of you calling the adhan, you say, Hayya ala al-falah. Come lively to the success. Falah. Muflih. Muflihun. Aflaha. All from the same root, representing the success of something whose internal properties are beginning to manifest on the outside now. So those internal talents and motivations and all of that instinctive drive and all those great things you had and qualities that you had that were harboring inside of you, being harbored inside of you, they're eventually going to make themselves known outside of you. That's how you know the mu'min from the other people. Because the other people are just talking about what they're going to do. Some of them are lying about what they have done. The mu'min, you don't even have to ask him or her. You're going to see it manifest outside of them. Just like people are seeing this class. And there are many other Muslims, quote unquote, out there whose works are speaking for themselves. That's the beautiful thing about what we've come into as deen, that the sincere ones among us, they don't waste any time putting something into effect that you can actually see, witness with your 5 basic senses. People have started schools and opened banks, centers to help the youth, places to help reduce recidivism. Inmates come out of the prison or whatever, and they don't have no work or nothing. There are people who have opened up clinics to help these people psychologically readjust to society. These are the mu'min that I'm talking about. And Allah said that they will certainly, He said, Qad aflaha. Qad is not like saying inna. Both of them are translated pretty much the same way. Surely, inna, surely. God means for show in the language of the hood. That Allah is saying that for show, these people, not they put it in the future tense, God that the believers, quote unquote, will. Then somebody put in brackets, eventually win through. That's incorrect. This sentence means that they have already won through, even though they haven't made a step in the direction of establishing themselves or getting out of this predicament that the bad people of the world put them in. They don't have anything to physically show for their progress yet, but Allah sent them revelation saying that the mu'min, they have already won through, because you have to see it first before it can be manifest. Listen to the word manifest. You hear man in there. That means you got to be thinking about it often. And anything that you give your concentration to, your attention to, is going to eventually expand. You can talk to the average person who went from rags to riches, and they're going to tell you that the first order of business for them was that they always concentrated every day they got up. They put the words on the wall about how successful they were going to be. They only hung around people who were successful, many of them. And they kept imaging themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror. Boy, you're going to be the next zillionaire in this project. And not for zillionaire's sake. You want the million, the billion, and the zillion, because you want to establish community life, and you'd like to be able to buy up properties with a bunch of trees on them, a bunch of agriculture attached to this land, where you can build a school that other people who have other school systems that act against your particular priorities, they can't manage your school. They can't dictate to your school. Understand where this is going. You're going to see these things become manifest soon, inshallah. That's a relative term, but soon. Especially if all of you start having the same dua. You start asking for the same thing and ask from Allah as though you've already received it. So what does that mean? That means you should already be thanking Allah for what you have not yet physically or literally received. You should still be asking Allah as though it's at your front door right now. Thank you, Allah, for fulfilling my request. And say that to yourself. Put it on your wall. Write it on your mirror and lipstick. Whatever you got to do. Have it so that it's the dominant thought on a daily basis and a nightly basis when you go to bed, when you wake up, and praise Allah every time you look at it. Say, thank you, Allah, for fulfilling that request. That's what the word Qad means, Q-A-D in Arabic. That's what it means. It means that it's already happened. The English word could, C-O-U-L-D, is saying the same thing. It's not here yet, but I believe it could be. You get it? Yeah, it could. I could beat Muhammad Ali. I think I could. You haven't done it, and you probably won't be able to do it, but at least you thought to yourself that you had a possibility of tagging him one or two times. Yeah, you could. And look at the animal, especially the one called the cow, who chews something called the cud, C-U-D. Chewing the cud. As he chews, he swallows, and then he regurgitates and chews it some more. Chewing, as you know, is symbolic of thinking, what they call cogitating in the mind. Taking ideas that you put to rest last night And now you're up in the morning again. You're chewing on that again. You're seeing it in your mind's eye. And you're doing that over and over again. That's what dua is as a purpose. And it's built into what they're calling, or what the Quran calls as salat. It's built into that. The repetition is what I'm talking about. The repetition is feeding your reptile mind or brain. The reptilian brain is the brain that works most efficiently when it's doing the same things over and over again, like a reptile does. The reptile follows the same path every morning, does the same things, because it's interested in survival, and you can't do a whole lot of untested, untried things in the name of survival. I never did this before, but I hope I live jumping across this cliff. No, the reptilian brain won't let you do that because it says you might die, and then my job is going to smash. You just keep doing it like you've been doing it. That's your reptile brain, fight or flight. I fought this big creature before and I lost, so I'm not going to do that again. I fought this smaller creature. I ran after it, I captured it, and we had it for dinner. So I'm going to do that again. Whatever it is, it's going to be a repeat performance. So we have to choose to dwell in that permanent state of peace called mu'min for our protection. And it will fortify all of the things that we consider to be valuable, beginning with our family and community concerns. So look at what Allah says in the Quran. He says, وَهَذَا بَلَدْ الْأَمِينَ. That's in Surah At-Tin, the fig. وَهَذَا, and this balad, translated as town or city, al-amin, of the peace and the security. The aman, same root that gives us the word mu'min and mu'minun that we've been discussing. So this is a town or a city that is marked by this optimum level of security. That means that when aggressive forces come against that community, come across that ballot, that seed, that city or that town, the citizens don't have to worry because they know that they have reinforcements that will keep out any opposition. That's how your life is supposed to become if you are considering yourself to be a so-called believer, a mu'min, one who has exquisite faith in the promise of Allah and in your own possibilities for growth. You trust it. You close your eyes on it. That's what Amin means. It's done. I don't have to revisit that. I can move on now to conquer other fields of endeavor. I don't have to keep wondering, hoping that Allah blesses me in that area. It's evident that He already has. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. I'm already there. I'm just waiting on the FedEx package to get to my front door. But I know it's coming. That's how you got to be, dear people. So balad means city or town. Balad is consonantally connected to the English word blood. You've heard me say that on many occasions. Balad, blood. In your blood, there is something called leukocytes. That means white blood cells. Leukocytes, C-Y-T-E. But the word site, C-Y-T-E, is where we get the English word city, C-I-T-Y. See? English word site, C-Y-T-E. English word city, C-I-T-Y. Now, if the one word grew out of the other, it's easy for me to put it together that these CYTEs running through my bloodstream are operating in the same way that cities are operating within the overall country. So what does the city need? Protection. First and foremost, protection. because it's going to be bringing in a lot of stuff that's going to be valuable, just like the blood does. And you can't have vipers and snakes and robbers and thieves on the outskirts waiting for that good stuff to come through. That's what actually has, if we're looking at the field of health and how the blood operates, that's what has destroyed most of our health. Bandits on the outskirts in the body. I'm talking about, you got bandits that come in as this aside and that aside and chloricide and femahydromoxicides and all of that stuff that the Fitra has not produced. Man in his laboratory, wicked people intentionally trying to destroy our health. They put those things in our body and have inundated our body with that to the point where the cells can no longer defend themselves against it. And it becomes attached, it becomes inundated as a cell with this false non-Fitra based product or group of products. So that's the same thing as walking up to a well-fortified gate or something of a city and bombarding it and forcing yourself in with battering rams. And that's what's happening in each and every one of our bodies right now. Every time we drink a Coca-Cola or eat a McDonald's hamburger, our cells are being bombarded. But Allah is talking about some cells in the city here, Balad, that are trustworthy. They can withstand the barrage of pressure, of adversarial activity coming against it. That's your body talking. You know, the Quran is talking about you. You think the Quran is talking about something that happened 1,400 years ago, 5,000 years ago. It's talking about things that happen to us in this body every single day. Now, let me give credit where credit is due. The Bible actually speaks more to what is happening on the physiological level to us, the physical level, the level of chemistry and such. When the Bible is speaking, it's not speaking about events in history. It's using those events just as the prototype to send your mind into the study of those events so that you can bring your mind back and apply that logic to its logical conclusion, but within you. The Bible is doing it for your biology, your chemistry, natures. Allah is Rabbil Alameen. He's the guardian evolver of all systems of knowledge. So the Quran is actually bringing up the rear on where the Bible scripture left off. They left off on the physiological level, the Bible I'm speaking about, the other levels that are related more to your physicality. The Quran comes to trumpet, if you use the expression. The Quran comes to trump what the Bible was responsible for laying down as the next evolutionary level of growth for that day and time. The Quran comes behind that to take us into the unforeseeable future by giving us the prototype for how the sociological life of humans is supposed to operate. And you know that blood, as I've told you on many occasions, is a symbol of the social life. And the social life is predicated upon the soul. Social means soul shell, the shell of protection that Allah allows to be placed over your soul so that your soul does not experience unnecessary and unwarranted damage. 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 That's why you're a son of Adam. Yeah, we are all children of Adam. A of negation on the beginning of a word. The word is what? Dam. What is dam in Arabic? Blood. Score another one. So balad, blood, and the blood is containing amin, which means the blood is containing immunity. Isn't that the most important topic in today's world, especially following this COVID thing that these conspirators put us through for the last few years? Immunity. Your immune system was attacked. That means that the reinforcements at the gate that were supposed to be securing you, they either fell asleep or they turned traitor and let the enemy in. Yeah, I know that sounds familiar when you look at how many millions of people have come across the border in the last how many years. Not the people they originally said. We said, oh, those poor Mexicans, they're being oppressed over there. They have Mexican gangs running wild, running loose. Can we just let in a few thousand of them just to show that we are still the America that cares? And as soon as we blinked, they blinked at each other. They winked at each other. While we were blinking, they were winking. Oh, this is going to be easier than we thought. And you, after you open your eye, isn't that what the jinn said in the Quran? That I will get the throne for you in the blink of an eye. When we opened up our eye, there were millions of people here, mostly from different places in the world that we didn't have that agreement. All over Africa, all over Europe, countries I'd never even heard of before. They got thousands of immigrants here. And not because they're being oppressed, they saw the opportunity. And of course, you're going to come if there's an opportunity. But my goodness, if you understand the consequences to what this American government has actually done in the last 2 years, if you understood it like they understand it in terms of cause and effect, you'd be just a little bit nervous, but not fearful. Just be a little bit nervous so that your spidey senses will be more sensitive to what's going on. And you will pay attention now to what's going on in the world and not just across the normal channels of media. They're the ones lying to you mostly. But pay attention with your own eyes. Listen with your own ears. So this city that we're discussing, Hadad Beladilamin, this is representing a level of faith and trust. That's what Amin means. That's what Iman means. It doesn't mean believe. You used to believe in Santa Claus. You used to believe your father could beat any man out there. That's not what Mu'min and Iman mean. Amana, that gives us the word Iman, also has attached to it that A of negation at the beginning, A-M-A-N-A. Amana, that gives us Iman. What is that Aman doing? That A at the beginning, it is discounting whatever that next word happens to be. In this case, it's the word man. Iman, amanu, amana, amana. It's discounting whatever this M-A-N consonantal connection is speaking to. And Imam Muhammad gave us such a great start in understanding these consonantal connections, even though I don't think he was aware that he was doing it. Maybe he was, and he just never got around to teaching on it. But here I am. And I'm telling you that man means mind. Exactly what I'm telling you is what he told you. Man means mind in English, and guess what other language? It means that in Arabic. Man in Arabic means whatever. It actually means whoever. Whoever. Well, how does that mean what man means in English? Because of this A of negation. So aman means not mind. And not mind means that you don't have to worry about it. If you don't have to worry about it, you don't pay specific attention to it, do you? And people that you talk about who are not really that important in what you're trying to say, you just might say, yeah, well, that dude, that guy. You don't name them specifically. Just like man doesn't name anybody specifically because it's not important in the conversation. It's already a done deal. I'm talking about the principle. I'm not trying to get you to memorize anybody's name. How often does Allah do that in the Quran where he tells you about a narrative or situation, but he don't put no names in there? See, I'm giving you Quranic logic that you can follow to its logical conclusion. Allah talked about the two children of Adam. He never says Cain and Abel. You know why? It's not important. Allah tells you the name of the father of Ibrahim. You know why he gives us his name, Azar? Because it's important when you understand what that name means and you connect it consonantally to other places in the Quran where the Asara or the Azara are used, such in the Surah Al-Asr. What is Al-Asr? They say the token of time. It's really the setting of the sun when it leaves its pinnacle and begins a downward trajectory into darkness. It's going to bring us eventually into darkness. That's what Asr is. So why is Ibrahim's father connected to that? Because he was the chief amongst the idol worshipers, amongst the mushrik of his day and time. And his practice was bringing his society gradually into darkness. The darkness of shirk. That was such a smooth transfer of knowledge and logic. I don't know how you can't see it if you say you don't see it. So Allah preserved his name so that we can make the connection between other words that sound like that name or that word. And it's really that simple all throughout the Quran. So we're talking about a particular level of faith and trust, which allows one to no longer have to concentrate on a thing as the center of attention. Like, I'm not concentrating on that name because it's not important to the story. Our reactions become automatic. Automatic. Put your question or concern in the chat box. I'm not stopping for any questions today. I'll do that at the end. And I know it might be a point of information, but still put it in the chat box and I'll see it, inshallah. Thank you. So we merely have to remain aware of an idea as a central observation and permanent condition and concern. Just be aware. You don't have to be conscious of everything. You go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs trying to be conscious, trying to make decisions as to which one is better, which one is worse. No, just be aware. Just like you're in the subway waiting for the train to come. You don't see it yet, but you hear it in the distance, so you know not to get up and poke your head over and see if the train is coming. You know it's coming. Why? Not because you see it, not because you can see what number train it is, the 2 or the 3, running up and down Broadway. You don't have to. You can just feel the shaking beneath your feet and you know the train is coming. You don't have to know which train. You know which train when it pulls up on the track and you say, oh man, the 3 train. I was hoping that was the 2 train. I'm tired, it's late. You were aware. You didn't know it for sure. You weren't conscious of it to be able to choose as soon as you heard it that you're going to get on that. You had to wait until your awareness became consciousness. So this awareness develops or happens through or with repetition. The center of all activity is absolutely still, S-T-I-L-L. This stillness is typified in the stillness of the position in the salat called qa'ada. That's the sitting still position. The second sitting position if you're doing the ritual. You sit the first time, it's called jalasa. You sit the second time, much longer, to end out the ritual, it's called qa'ada. The human being has both private and public concerns. In privacy, you could take your clothes off, walk around in your underwear in your house. But as soon as you open your door, you don't want to be seen just wearing your underwear. People do, man. People are wearing their pajamas now in the shopping market. I don't get it. They're wearing their pajamas. Man, they have tripped up this world. Something terrible. So the natural, normal humans who are still on their fitrah, they have private concerns and behaviors, and they also have public concerns and behaviors as soon as they know another soul, another human is looking at them or interfacing with them. And God is to sit still within the realm of your private thoughts and concerns, not your public ones, your private thoughts and concerns. In psychology, this is called meditation. Meditation is when you draw forth into the mind what your private concerns are, you and Allah, that conversation. That's in Qa'dah. You didn't know that you're supposed to be thinking about different things when you're in these different positions, but you're going to learn that here. Please stick and stay. Very important. I still say life-saving information. If you look at your internal life as being life also. So there is, or this is the essence of the salat. It includes this meditative pause, this meditation. There is a consonantal connection between the words salat, the English words settle, and the English word that we've been discussing now, still. You see the S, the T, and the L in different positions throughout those three words. And there are many other words. Our private concerns represent the beginnings of our education at home, and home is the first settlement. See, settling the mental, settling the mind. What settles the mind? The first step is meditation, pulling yourself away from the public fare and the fanfare, the adulation you've been getting because you're a popular guy or girl or whatever. Yeah, you got to pull yourself away from that. It's just you and Allah now. And your soul has to settle, but your mind has to settle first so that it can concentrate on the meditation. Concentrate, centrate, central, middle. Meditation, mid, medium, middle. They're speaking to different aspects of the same concern that you have to slow down your roll and stay still. We first sit at home with ourselves, sometimes by ourselves, and also with our family, the dinner table, for recreation or whatever, sit in the living room and talk, play cards or whatever. And also before sitting in the public, we also sit in what's called the jalsa in one of the positions of the salat. Jalsa. Jalsa gives us the word majlis, which means a group of people sitting in the public in order to participate in the same concern. So it's not just like you going out to the local park and these people are looking at the birds or whatever, they're bird watchers, and somebody else is there walking their dog so the dog can take its daily poop or whatever. Those are different concerns, although there are many people doing it. But majlis is when there's a group of people settled somewhere. You have to be sitting. You can't be standing. You have to be sitting and settled and be concentrating on a primary purpose, like you're watching the movie together. All of you are there, but you're doing exactly the same thing for the same purpose. You're at a concert. Thousands of people might be there, but you're all there for the same purpose. You're in the library, as quiet as that is, and you're all there for the same purpose. You look at each one of those desks in the library, they all got a book. And no matter how young the child is, 5 years old, he got a book. 50 years old, she got a book. 80 years old, he's got a book. They're all there for the same purpose. Sitting and reading. That's majlis. That's jalsa, as opposed to qa'ada, sitting in private by yourself or just with your family, not a group of families. Then it becomes jalsa because somebody got to get up and leave. When you don't have to get up and leave and you can sit there indefinitely, like you can do in that position called qa'ada in your ritual prayer, before the prayer ends, you can sit there for 2, 3, 4 hours if you want. before you go salam to the right, salam to the left. Unless you're doing it as a group. If you're doing it by yourself, which is what we're talking about now, qa'ada, to sit in private, you can do that indefinitely. Now look at what Allah says in the 7th surah, 16th ayah. قال فبما أغويتني لأقعدن لهم صراطك المستقيم. Translated into English, this is Iblis speaking, Allah speaking, but he's putting it in the mouth of Iblis so you know what's on his brain. Iblis said, because you, speaking to Allah, look at them, this arrogant dude, because you have put me in the wrong, in the error, I will surely would what? Sit in wait for them on your straight path. In other words, I'm coming to your house on your front lawn, homie, and it's me and you. That's what Iblis is saying to Allah. I'm gonna be sitting on your front door, at your front door, Allah, because you put me in, because you put me out. You said I got to leave here because I didn't make sajda like all of these other idiots behind me to this new jack, Adam, whatever you call Khalifa. I don't know what you're calling him. You asked me to make sajda to him? No can do. That's what Iblis said back in his own head, of course, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the important thing is here is that I will surely sit. So what word is reflective of that? لأقعدن from qa'ada, off, ain, dal, gives you the word qa'ada. That's why he translated this as sit. Some others say lie in wait. No, that's not what it says. It says sit, and that position is very important. Now, going back to the original thought related to peace. This level of peace is an agreement on the part of all parties to engage and remain in peace. See, it has nothing to do with you coming up against war makers, gangbangers, and that kind of thing. No, it is not a response to something. Salam is a condition that begins something. It doesn't bring up the rear on it. Yo, you hit my little brother, I'm coming to get you now. No more peace for you. That's not the peace that Salam is speaking to. It's peace. It resonates at the very beginning of a life form, like that embryo we spoke about last week in the womb that becomes a fetus. All of that development is reflective of Salam as an awareness in the womb. The baby can't articulate anything at 2 months old or 5 months old. When it becomes maybe 7, 8, and 9 months old in the womb, then science believes that it can begin to articulate or at least distinguish subtle differences. Amazing creation. Allah designed us for us. Now, the concentration on this level of peace is what will bring us power. Listen, there are ethnic groups on this planet Earth that crave power. So-called African American craves power so much. I remember Imam Muhammad saying that he can't even have a pet dog without being a true and sometimes a cruel master. He just wants to be boss over something, and he can't be boss over any other people. So he chose to be boss over his Doberman, hit him in the nose, and Rockwilder, or whatever they call those dogs, and what do you call the other one, the little pit bulls and all that. Yeah, man, many of us have gotten those dogs just to show that we have some kind of power over the dog. We know other people know how vicious these dogs are. So if we can control the dog, what are we saying about ourselves in public? Amazing psychology that has been artificially installed into the so-called African American psyche. So this power conditions us to remain pure. And the words Power and pure are from the same root. You can hear it. Power, pure. So what is that saying? That's saying that if your power is not from a pure source, if your power is because your daddy was powerful, you got your power because your father handed it down, king to prince or something like that, or because you grew up in that gang and the leader of the gang raised his son to be the next gang banger in their generations, and you began taking over communities and stealing from stores and stealing cars and robbing bars and muggers and drugs and rat infested and nobody's interested, as one song said. If you're from that lineage, that's not real power, my friend. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that tyranny, like Firaun was exhibiting, Pharaoh, that's not power. Not when it's artificially garnered or gained. The real power comes from people who many of us respect, whose names I don't have to mention, who were leading or ruling their constituency, giving them guidance, really, not ruling. They don't even see themselves as doing anything by force. They're doing things by invitation. La ikraha fi din. Let there be no compelling in the deen. Those people, that's pure leadership. And that's real power. This is how individuals, families, and communities become powerful, whether they operate for good or evil purposes. So the choice is yours. Instructor Benjamin Bilal comes from a very powerful family. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've met any of these children, wife and people, and cousins, even people recognize this family all the time, not for any, arrogant reasons. They say, man, I love being around your family. I'm feeling so free and so honored to be in you guys' presence. And they're not doing anything special except being intelligent. But that's all it takes. Just be intelligent. That's a part of the purity. Respect what Allah gave you as faculties to operate in the world by. That's where your purity is. Take the PR out of that pure and see it as your PR. That's your public relations right there. How you treat yourself, how you treat your family, how you treat your neighbors, how you treat your community, how you treat the stranger. All of this is in the Quran. Surah 2, Ayah 177, under the caption of Al-Bir, the righteousness. And you know, the B and the P are interchangeable, so Bir and pure, synonymous. Thank you. I love these consonantal connections. I'm so thankful to Allah for having blessed us, not just me, us with this linguistic science. Anybody out there feel the same way? You can break in for just a minute and let me know. Not too loud.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me get a couple more voices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Purity.
sir.
Purity is where your righteousness is. Doesn't that make sense? That just came to me.
Definitely.
All right. All right.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, let me continue. And inshallah, we're doing good on the time. We should have time to open up for some questions and comments. Now, this, I repeat, is how individuals, you want to know how to become individually powerful, follow this script that I just gave you. You want to know how to become powerful as a family without having to be mafioso? Follow this prescription, beginning with purity, pure intent, pure treatment of people, starting with yourself, your family, your neighbors, etc. All of those things that are listed in About Man, at least 7 things in Surah 2, Ayah 177. So this is how you become powerful, but it can work for you in terms of gaining you power, whether you're seeking goodness or evil intent. Goodness or evil intent. My, oh my. So what's the difference? If you do it for the good, the righteousness remains pure. If you do it for evil purposes, you'll get the power, but the power will be corrupt. Just like the blood can become corrupted when you put the wrong things in it that are working against its fitwa. This is how pure energy is initially created. Energy is formulated while ordering your soul to remain still. You cannot be all herky-jerky inside with your thoughts and your emotions and think you're going to eventually arrive at pure energy as a human person. Energy can only be formulated and established when you are ordering, not just asking your soul. You have the ability to command, to be the Amir over your nafs, your soul. And you're the one that's supposed to say, be still. You know, in the Bible, there's a verse out of the mouth of Jesus the Christ where they say, he said, be still and know. No, this is actually God speaking in the Bible. Be still and know that I am God. Oh, how powerful that. That's in the Bible. Quran has similar, but you ain't ready for that. So energy begins based on a state of stillness in your soul, and you must consciously choose the direction for the soul's energy as an independent thinker. So if you don't like being an independent thinker, you like other people thinking, making decisions for you, telling you what to differentiate between who's good, who's bad from the membar. Instructor Bilal is giving you certain information. He's giving you tracks to follow, breadcrumbs to follow. So do your own investigation. There's still people who won't do their own investigation because their sheikh has not given them permission yet. Never will. But their imam has not given them permission. Their reverend, their priest, their rabbi said, junk, junk. What kind of response is that from intelligent people? No, he's wrong. He's wrong. And that's all they tell you. That ain't right. Bilal ain't right. He's wrong. That's not right. That's all they told you? They didn't give you nothing? Why I'm wrong? That's not what Allahu Akbar means. You remember Muhammad said, see, these people, oh, they get to me. Righteously, of course. When they get snagged, you know, they start bringing up other people to save them. People who are not even here. Remember, Muhammad he never said no stuff like that. See, Bilal is making stuff up. That's messed up. I think he's a mushrik. If that's the best you can do with your scholarship, boy, your people are in trouble. And it's so wonderful that Allah has given us information that if the knuckleheads among us would just say, I'm tired of being knucklehead. I'm tired of getting my knuckles scratched up and my head swollen from people knocking on my head with their knuckles, telling me what to think. Hello, anybody in there? You remember that? What was that? Back to the Future. Keep grabbing the guy. Hello, anybody in there? Well, that's what a lot of us are accepting, unfortunately, for the world to do to us. And don't tell me we're not doing that as a world, or you would not have had this COVID crisis thing that just happened if the majority of people were not allowing perfect strangers to grab them around the neck and put knuckle to scalp or skull, knuckles to skull. You must consciously choose this direction that we're talking about for what direction your soul's energy, the nafs, your soul's energy will go into as an independent thinker. If you continue to allow other people to choose for you, to think for you, then your mind's energies will go in whatever directions the winds blow. Ash-Shams in the Quran, translated as the sun, S-U-N. It is a symbol of both the soul and a symbol of those who we allow to govern over our social lives as leaders and rulers. Now, I just gave you a golden nugget. All you got to do is look through the Quran where you find the term Ash-Shams, the sun, and know that it is a symbol of both the soul, S-O-U-L, as well as that which rules over our social lives in the same way that the physical S-U-N in the sky rules over our social concerns, because we don't become social until the sun comes up. Sun comes up, all of the social creatures come out, humans and animals and insects, mostly in the sunlight. Some nocturnal creatures run around at night, whatever. Owls and wolves, and you study those creatures that come out at night, the bats, but I'm talking about the average creature on this planet Earth begins its daily activities even when the bleakest of light begins to eke out from the horizon before you even see the sun. Just that redness, that glow, that fujur and that fajr, that period right there, creatures start coming out. The birds and all of these creatures begin to, come out, the butterflies and all of that. The social creature, the ones who value family life and community life, they start showing themselves when the sun and its light begins to project. So the Shams in the Quran has these two applications. The soul, called the nafs, which we'll talk about now, and the world's leaders and rulers, like the ones who are ruling all over the planet as we speak. They are also Ash-Shams. But there's one difference between the leaders of this world. I'm going to drop another nugget on you. There's one difference between the leaders in the world that I'm speaking about right now in the form of president this one, premier that one, and not just in politics, pope this one, and reverend that one, and imam the other one. Those leaders in the Quran are also under the heading of Shams, Ash-Shams, the sun. Now you might say, well, how do we know which one Allah is speaking to, instructor? Here's your nugget. When Allah is speaking to the human soul, he addresses the soul as a feminine gender. When Allah is speaking to the leaders and the rulers, many of whom have become corrupt, and you see it in the form of that word Ash-Shams, and it's only given a couple of times in the way that I'm telling it now, but a couple of times was enough. And I'll tell you where to find it. He addresses Ash-Shams as a masculine entity. So where do we find that, instructor? You do the research on where to find the conversation that Abraham was having with Allah when he was trying to determine which one of these heavenly bodies was his Rabb. And he started with the star. And he said, this is my Rabb. So brilliant, lighting up the darkness of the sky. This must be my Rabb. And then his reasoning got involved and he said, this thing just fell. This thing just shot across the sky. Yeah, it can't be my Rabb. So he continued to look. Then the next light that he came across was the moonlight, al-Qamar. And he said, oh, this must be my Rabb. Look at how it's waxing into its fullness. That's got to be my Rabb. And he stuck with that just a little bit further down the line. And he said, wait a minute. Just as surely as it waxed, it's beginning to wane and become nothing. a slither, and then disappear for a whole night. I can't even find my Rab on the 30th night. Then when he does return, he comes back as a slither. Is that your Rab? Ibrahim said, no, 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 that's not my Rab. And then it says that when he saw the sun, he said, now this has got to be my Rab. I found him. All of this brilliance. And then the sun set. But in that passage, for those of you who read the Arabiya, he said, this must be my Rabb. He said, this is al-Akbar. But when he said this, he didn't say this feminine thing. He said, hada, that's masculine all day long. And then he called it al-Akbar. How about that? I'm not even going to elaborate on that right now. I'm doing a book on why Allah is not Akbar. Some woman wrote a book a few years ago called God is Not Great. Now, I'm not following her logic, but I'm telling you, she caught a whiff of something that those scholars were doing, and she just didn't know how to express her resistance to it. But I'm telling you that I'm going to write a short book about 25 pages called Why Allah is Not Akbar. Allah is Akbar. Allah is not Akbar. And there's nowhere in the Quran where Allah extends the pronunciation of that title, Allah, beyond one vowel beat. Allah, that's it. Allah, that's it. Not Allah, that's not in the Quran. That was the way the pagan Arabs used to pronounce the name Allah. And he was a moon god. Go look it up. Google it. Allah as a moon god. Give you the whole history. Instructor, that don't sound right. That's not what I've been in this deen for 35, 37, 37, 30. For 40, I've been in this deen for 40 years, Instructor Imam. And I've always been taught that it's Allahu Akbar, every adhan. Allahu Akbar, every adhan. So Allah must mean Akbar. Well, then what did Allah mean as you find it in the name of Muhammad's daddy, Abdullah? Muhammad ibn Abdullah. What does that Allah mean? If you're saying it means what you say it means, what did it mean before Muhammad got the revelation that pronounced it Allah, and that's it? See, your brain is not calculated to pick up these nuances. So follow somebody with the better sense is all I'm saying. And don't stop at me. Ask scholars who are worth their salt. There are other scholars discussing this online. If you would just stop Googling the latest Juma, and that's all you want to hear online, start Googling concepts and controversies even. We're in a new period of enlightenment in this world, all across the board, politically, religiously, academically, socially. All of these four major areas have entered into they've crossed a new line, a precipice that hasn't been crossed in several hundred years. It's been crossed before, but not in our lifetimes. So don't just outright reject something because you never heard it before, because you were not told that by your mommy and daddy or your teacher or your, minister or whatever. Don't just reject stuff. Put it on the side like your body does. Your body doesn't just reject the nutrition. If it can't identify it, you know what your body does? It puts it on the side. It becomes fat until it has time to deal with it. It doesn't throw it back up or poop it out. Just, hey, you sit over here in the side of the stomach for a minute or up under the breast. You can become a little bit heavier in the breast or in the belly area because I don't know what to do with you right now. But I'm not going to reject you because it might be something good. That's intelligent. Let's continue. We're almost through. So when the soul, the nafs, and ashams, washamsi waduha, ha, feminine, when it's in the ha, the feminine state, it's dealing with the soul. When it's in the masculine state, as it is in that ha, that akbar I just told you about for the shams, then it's dealing with human rulers, kings, bishops, those who have taken on the masculine role in religion even, and how they rule. Some of them are just, some of them are wicked and cruel. So let's talk about these three letters that comprise the word nafs: the nun, the fa, the sin. Nun is the nose, the nasals. The letter nun is a nasal sound. If you give the sound of this letter nun as n, n, and sustain that sound, you're going to feel it in your nasal cavities, in the nose. So it's called a nasal letter. There's only one other nasal letter, that's the letter meme. Nasal letters. So nun, think about the nose. Fa is the open mouth. Fa, the open mouth. So already now you have two things going on here. The nose, think about the face, and the fa, the mouth, when open. The word for that openness of the mouth is afa. Afa, A-F-A. That means the open mouth. When Allah is addressing the children of parents in Surah 17, he tells the child, when addressing their parents, to not even say uffun, uff, U-F-F, uff, from the same root as the word that gives us afa, mouth. So what is it literally saying? Something that the African American community has been saying for many generations now. Don't give your daddy no mouth. We just pronounce it M-O-U-F, Don't give your daddy no mouth. Yeah, don't you say, oh, I know you don't like what he just said to you, what you can't do, that you thought you could do, who you couldn't go out with, who you thought you were going to go out with. But I see it welling up in you, girl. I would not say that to him right now at this moment. Don't give your daddy no mouth. And of course, the letter sin, which represents the teeth as they are masticating or chewing on food. And some things that we put in our mouth, like tree bark and all of that, especially over there in Arabia, they use that. They call it miswak. They use it to clean their teeth. They use it as a toothbrush. So the cleaning of the teeth is also represented in the letter sin, and sin is what gave us the English word of sun, shine, sheen, all of those words that represent brightness and brilliance. In this case, it's the brilliance of the intellect, and we say that about children, right? Yeah, your child is just so bright. He got so many awards. You saw those students that got those plaques and awards and trophies at the beginning of tonight's class. It was because they're bright. They're not dull. Allah, he warns us against being dull in the last ayat of Al-Fatiha. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Not to be of the angry ones and of those who go way astray. But what's the word for way astray? Ad-dallin. That's where you get the English word D-U-L-L. And you know what that means when you're referring to the intellect. Don't be like the dullards. Don't be like them dull children. Ask them an intelligent question, they ain't got nothing to say. Ask that man on the stand. They asked him on the witness stand. Did you start seeing this woman on such and such a date? Did you have coitus with her before this particular date here? And he had to think for 18 seconds. And the Jeopardy clock is counting down, and it took him about 15 to 18 seconds to answer the judge as to whether he had sex, use the expression, with this woman. Because he knew his answer was going to jam him up because he told other folks something different. He's under oath. That's being a dullard. That's a dull answer right there. He wasn't being sharp. He wasn't sharp. He didn't have an answer ready. So the intellect is what Al-Fatiha is talking about. As-sirat al-mustaqim. The sirat, the star. You see, sirat, the star of brilliance the Quran talks about in other places. Not a dull star, a bright star bringing in light. So what's the connection between the nose, the mouth, and the intellect? All three of these can be opened and closed. And all three of these need to breathe in and out. The nose, the mouth, the intellect takes in ideas. Now, if it does nothing but take in ideas as a bookworm and it doesn't bring out any produce, nothing, it doesn't invent anything, it doesn't solve any problems, it's just reading, listening to videos, and it doesn't produce anything, that's the same thing as the nose breathing in and trying to keep all of that breath to itself, not wanting to feed the environment, the carbon dioxide that the plants need. It wants all of the oxygen, but it doesn't want to give out anything that other creatures need. Oh, can you see the wisdom in how Allah designed his Quran? Same thing with the mouth. You take in, you just want to take in, eat, but you don't want to give out. You don't want to ask questions. You don't want to teach anybody anything. That's the mouth giving out. You just want to put in. Yeah, more. And then the intellect, as I said, needs to not only take in information, but it takes it in so it can chew on it, think about it, break it down, and then teach it to somebody else. Has to come back out. So if you take a quick breath in, you will feel it right in the center of your forehead. You'll feel it right there, a little sensation. See, people of old, this is how they taught themselves. They weren't in front of computers and 65-inch televisions and that kind of thing. They were in front of the fitra, and the fitra was their main or primary teacher. So they would pay attention to sensations in the body. They got the word lub, the word for the heart. Lub is qalb, which doesn't mean the physical heart. Then there's lub, which describes the actions of the physical heart within the chest, the physical chest. They used to listen to the sound of the blood that would come in and out of those four chambers, in and out. And they saw it as sounding like lub, lub, lub. This is what the Arab scholars say. And that's how they got the word lub. And Allah put that word in the Quran. Ulul albab. I've explained that before. I won't do it again today. But it literally refers to those of the ancient heart, or those of the original heart. Ulul, Aul, ancient. Bayt al-Aul, the ancient house, the ancient temple. Ulul albab, the ancient lub. Not door, not al-bab. Sounds like that because Allah was making a psychological connection that this heart is the first door which allowed life to come into your body. It came through that door, the heart. Continuing. So you take that quick breath in for yourself and tell me if you don't feel it. Because the word nafs means the breathing, the NF, intellect, seen. And if you're not letting your intellect breathe, you are dying while standing. Now look at what Ash-Shams as a surah says when speaking about the nafs. It's already outlined in the first 6 ayat what Shams means, or is referring to. Now it's comparing the Shams to the nafs. See? وَالنَّفْسِ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. See the ha? That's feminine. That means the nafs is feminine, just like Ash-Shams is feminine. And by the soul and he who proportioned it. Sawwa means to give it evenness, latitude, from the same root as the word uswa, which we'll be discussing in a moment. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. Look at the translation by Sahih International. And by the nafs, or by the soul, and he who proportioned it. Now there's nothing at all in this Arabic statement that says anything about the he who proportioned it. It says وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. Anybody can open up, if you know the language, and tell me what this word ma, we spoke about man earlier as meaning whoever. What does ma mean?
Does it mean not?
It does, but not in this context, not in this sentence. Good guess, though. Anyone else who speaks and can read Arabic and understand?
Water?
No, not in this. It's, water is ma'a, ma'a, but it sounds alike because there is a connection, but I want to get the specific meaning here first.
What?
Say it again. What? No. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Person was, I'm so used to saying no. Who gave me that?
Joy, mahada, like, what's
Yes,
that?
that's
So,
correct.
what?
You're absolutely 1000% correct. Yeah. So this ma means what? So now, Joy, stay with me. Tell me what this sentence is really saying, knowing now that this is not he, like they have here, meaning
I
Allah.
only know a little bit of conversational Arabic, so I'm not sure.
Well, let me help you. You just put your addition in, which what you just gave me when I get to it. So wa and nafsin, right? A soul. Wa and ma. What did you say it meant?
What?
Yeah. So, and the soul, or by the soul, and what? Sawa. Sawa means gave it balance or proportion. So it doesn't say and by the soul and he who proportioned it, meaning Allah. It said by the soul and whatever, whatever that was. It's not specific. It's not alladhi, that which did something specifically. We know what it is. We can look at it. We can measure it. We can do things to it. No, this is very, very obscure. This word here, ma. And the way it became also the word for water in ma is because the olden people of this planet used to stand by a seashore, for instance, and they would look out from the shore. They couldn't just walk out into the water unless they were just very good swimmers, but they could only go so far even if they were. So they would see a shark fin or something jump up out of the water or something that they didn't recognize. And their minds would say, what in the world? They couldn't identify it directly. They'd say, what in the world was that white thing? Is that a whale? What do we call that? Was that a shark or that water, that spout pushing water up above the surface of the ocean? I can't see the creature, but I can see the pushing of that water from some, like a spout. What in the world is that? That's how they use what. And what and wet and water are related. Now, why is that important here? Because when Allah says, and by the soul, وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, he's giving you a hint as to what is doing the proportioning. I hope you Nudetics learners are paying meticulous attention tonight. So look at how Allah has condensed the understanding for us in simple words. So again, it's not just saying, and by the soul, and what proportioned it. If you understand that the what is also related to the word for water, ma, then think about water. Isn't water proportioned? Doesn't water seek its own balance? And water is symbolic of what again? What two things we've been discussing for months now? Anybody can answer?
Emotion
That's one, emotion.
and moral nature.
Moral nature. Right on. So that means that your emotions need to be balanced and proportioned. You got to stop being so overly emotional. And you got to stop being so moralistic where everything presents a moral problem for you. If you don't eat breakfast before 11 o'clock, that's a problem for you. It's not really breakfast now, Ben. It's lunch. Whatever it is. Hey, will you eat the food, please? Stop being so nitpicky about the time and when to eat this particular meal. Are you hungry? Yeah, all right, let's go ahead. You call it what you want. But there are some people who are just nitpicky when it comes to their moral outlook on things. If it's black, it's right. If it's white, it's no good. And for some people on the other side of the fence, if it's white, it's great. If it's white, it's right. If it's brown, it can stick around. If it's red, it might still be able to get ahead. If it's yellow, it can still be a little bit mellow. But if it's black, it's got to get the hell on back. That was the moral outlook of many people in this country not that long ago. And for some still, that's the way they look at human beings, by colors and what those colors represent as symbols in their minds. So this is solving the whole equation. Allah is saying that if you want to balance your nafs, you had better balance your emotions. If you want to balance your soul, your nafs, you had also bring proportion to your moral outlook. Stop being so doomy and gloomy when it's dealing with people who are not you and yours. Stop condemning the world because they don't believe exactly as you believe. Stop talking and judging people simply because they have a particular skin color or hue. Now, I hope I said enough on that. Look at what else Allah says. فَأَلْهَمَّهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and inspired it with, he puts in, with discernment of, meaning being able to differentiate between its wickedness and its righteousness. Its wickedness, which he's translating from this word, fujur. Imam Muhammad gave us some wonderful insight on that. He said it has nothing to do with being wicked or evil. You see, this is not the man is born in sin religion. So the soul is not born with a propensity for wickedness, like a crapshoot. You know, Allah brings babies here, and then, you know, the angels are up there. Oh, number two. You know, hit the two, hit the lucky seven, lucky seven. And then depending on, you know, your numerology, what day you were born on, what time of day it was, your sun sign or moon sign. That's not what Allah is doing. He's not shooting craps in the sky when it comes to human life. So there's no such thing as being inspired, as a nafs being inspired with wickedness and or righteousness. Fujur represents the time in the day when the sun is just beginning to show forth its light before, as I said earlier, before the body of the sun shows itself. So that morning glow, some people would call it, those early rays that allow you to be able to at least differentiate from whether a bear is coming at you in the forest or the jungle, or whether that's just a rabbit you hear jumping from bush to bush or from whatever. In the pure darkness, you can't tell the difference. You just hear noises, and then your mind exaggerates those noises, sometimes for good reasons. But when you can see a little bit, because the sun's light is just beginning to rise over the horizon, oh yeah, it's not enough light to do your daily work by. You have to wait a little bit longer. But it's enough light to be able to differentiate or discern between something that's going to attack you or something that might be of assistance to you. So Fujur just represents the earliest portions of that light that is just beginning to dawn. That's Fujur. Allah has not created anything evil. Allah says that He is higher, He is good, He is utilitarian, and that everything He's created is higher, that He accepts nothing except higher. Beautiful when you understand it. So he inspired it, he says, although there's no word for inspire here. Yeah, if you might be able to get away with hama. But in any case, he says, and inspired it, its wickedness and its righteousness. So remember what I just said about fujur. The righteousness part is from the word that gives us taqwa, wa taqwaha. And taqwa represents the ability in the intellect's caution department to be able to determine whether this is going to be good for it or whether it should stay away from it, be cautioned against it. That's taqwa. And even the word taqwa is connected to ideas related to water. In Spanish, they call it agua. You see, there's taqwa. That ta is not a natural part of the root. The natural part of the root is just waqi, the W and the Q, waqi. And again, it represents a caution in the intellect that advises you against stepping into the wrong direction, lest there be consequences. So you're very, very careful. It's a word that the ancient Arabs used to use for horses after they've been retired and their horseshoes have been removed and their hooves are very sensitive to the pebbles and things that they now have to traverse over. And if they make the wrong step, if they make a misstep, it could cost them dearly from pain, first of all, because of the raw hoof. Or, if a horse falls over, a horse could very easily hurt itself to the point where if it hurts itself or breaks a leg, you have to kill it. You have to shoot it. You can't live like that. It's not like a human that can live with one leg or no legs. The horse needs all four of its legs, or it will be in considerable pain, or its whole system will just shut down because it's created to walk and run. So that's taqwa, being overly careful, overly cautious. Imam Muhammad called it regardful, paying regard. That means to guard something over and over again, regard. To look at that thing, to evaluate that thing, to make sure that it was now what it was yesterday, as far as its danger or its opportunity. That's taqwa in the intellect. In the moral department of the intellect, the taqi, the agwa, that part of the intellect, where water is concerned, moral thinking. Now, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. There's that word that we were talking about earlier. That means it has already happened. I could beat Muhammad Ali. In my mind, it has already happened, although it has not occurred yet. I know this is coming easier to you the more I repeat these things. So قَدْ أَفْلَحَ, for sure. Successful is the man. Now look at how Allah put ma in the previous ayah to show you the difference. This is how you do Quranic evaluations of words. That one up there was ma, and it meant what. This one is man, and it means who. So for sure, and look, aflaha, that's put in the past tense. Falaha. It's telling you it already happened. He has succeeded. The one who, speaking about a person, who zakah. Now they told us that zakah was charity, 2.5% of your annual income. So how did zakah, meaning the feminine soul, how did that become purifying? Because that's what the zaki and zakah are referring to. It's a purification process. It has nothing to do with money out of your bank account or out of your pocketbook or purse. So Allah says that he has already succeeded, who has did upon the purification of the soul, getting rid of those things in the soul that don't belong there, that represent putrid stuff. The dasa, you're going to see that in a moment. Waqad khaba man dassaha. There it goes. And he has failed. Khaba, he has failed. The one who instills it. And he says with corruption. And that's dassaha. Dasa means to bury something until it becomes corrupt or putrid. Start seeing worms and stuff crawling around. It's been buried so long, or standing still too long. The Arabic word dasa is consonantally connected to the English word deuce. Now, just for time's sake, I'm going to stop there. I think that's enough for you. And I'm going to ask you for about 3 minutes, and I'm going to come back and we'll answer a few questions and take a few comments. I hope everybody's doing all right out there. So give me one moment. William, you can take over the mic, and inshallah, I'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, yes, sir. In the interim, I'd just like to bring to everyone's attention, we are working diligently. It's a steep learning curve for us, but both instructor and I have been working for many, many months now, preparing to take Nunetics to the next level. By that, I mean to expose this whole process and system of learning to the global community, to the global audience. So he made an indication in the note that was sent out in regards to this class that next week, a portion of it, at least half an hour, we're expecting, inshallah, God willing, we are anticipating actually going live, which means anyone that has a device anywhere on the planet will be able to tune in and listen to our class for at least in half an hour out of next week. That's the plan. And in preparation with this forward movement, the instructor also wants each one of us, me included, to do a 2-minute video. He didn't mention which, either video or audio, but a 2-minute presentation inviting others to our class to explaining why you're in the class, what kind of benefits that you've received from it, yourself, your family, your friends, whomever, from being involved in Nunetics, the difference that it's made in your life in terms of your ability to learn, to read, to understand, and to improve your own behavior as an individual, as an associate or of another person or human being in a group setting, in your family, at your business, in your job, with your neighbors, just explaining what Nunetics has done for you in terms of improving the quality of your life. Just 2 minutes. So if you would begin to record that, and it's just 2 minutes, so it should you should be able to send it pretty easily to do a simple recording with almost any device that you have, your phone, your computer, your iPad, or just a handheld recording device. Should be able to record those couple of minutes and send it either to the instructor or myself. Everyone should have the instructor's information, or go directly to our website, and you can get the email address or where to send it. But 2 minutes is all that's being asked. So pray Allah that you will respond, each one of us, I should say, and go ahead and get that very small assignment. It's not a big assignment, and you should be able to get it done this evening. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate or anything that has words that people don't understand. Where they might have to go to a dictionary just to be able to understand what you just said. Just an expression from the benefits that you receive from being involved with Nunetics. No matter whether you're a newcomer to Nunetics or you've been around for years, it doesn't matter. Just we would appreciate this 2-minute presentation that will be inviting actually others to get involved. Because again, we are poised right now, as we speak, we're poised to on a regular basis, on a every 7 days or so, we're poised right now to share with the world at least a half an hour of our class. So your help is needed. Again, the presentation that's being given by Masjid Al Bayina and here in Atlanta in the College Park area, the Abu Bakr Annual Awards for 2024 will be held next Saturday on March 2nd from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. And it's going to be at the Harriet G. Darnell Senior Facility in Atlanta. And that zip for that is right in the chat. It's 30331. There's no address given, but you can find that very easily. Again, it's the Harriet G. Darnell, Darnell Senior Facility. And I believe that's the same place where it was held before. Okay, with that, instructor's back. So pass the talking stick back to you.
All right. Thank you for all that you do and the way you do what you do, sir. Appreciate that. So I'm going to open up just for a couple of questions or comments. Please don't make them too long. We're already pushing 3 hours for this particular presentation, and that's what I wanted it to be. So if you have a pertinent question or a comment or just a shout out, that's fine also. So let us end this particular lecture on a high, with one of the names of one of the learners, with the joy. I love that word, joy. That goes beyond happy. When you're joyful, that goes beyond happiness. And that's what we're all searching for. And we all earn that. We deserve that. I'm telling you, I have the best group of learners that I could have ever, as they say, prayed for. We got other folks praying on their learners and students and congregations. We're over here, we're going to pray for hours. We're going to make plenty of dua and keep the word environment pure. So come on with it. Come on into the conversation. Don't overrun anybody. You can even raise your hand if that's more civil on your computer. Alaikum salam, Muhammad.
Muhammad Alam Ali, I would just like to say that Nunetics gives you a very high level of academic freedom, which makes it possible for you to go into any subject matter and become the master of the language. And I'm saying that in reference to, I'm an English teacher, but now I'm a super English teacher.
That's right, you're proving that.
And I can solve anybody's English problem in any classroom in America. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and I'm laughing along with you because you've proven it to me. So
Alhamdulillah.
others out there who see themselves as wanting to master English, here's a man who already has degrees in it, and Nunetics has just taken him over the top. He can't get enough of it. His students, his fellow teachers, they know there's something new going on with how he's teaching and the responses he's getting from his students. Yeah, so enough said on that. Thank you for
Let me share
being
this
a
now.
part of this. Yeah.
He just inspired me.
All right.
But you know, I'm practically a lifelong mathematics teacher. I've been teaching math since I was teaching math when I was in college. I was teaching students then who were already in college, and I went from there to the Nation of Islam teaching in the University of Islam school system, then the Clara Muhammad School, and then my own private and homeschool situation. So I've been teaching math for a long time. But Nunetics has taken the teaching of math and understanding of math for myself on a whole nother level now. Being able to look deep into the Quranic words and ideas and systems that opens up all the concepts of not only calculation and dealing with quantities, as you've covered many times, but also in the quality of the ideas. So being able to open up those concepts where they can be more useful, you know, and a lot directs us toward useful knowledge. You know, so it's one thing to be able to quantize things and use numbers to count and quantize things, but it's another totally to be able to understand and qualify things and deal with things on that level. So
yeah,
share that.
All right. Let me just answer a couple of these questions.
Can I say something first?
Let me do this. Let me do
All
this
right.
first. I'm coming.
All right.
You'll be the next one in line. Okay.
All right.
All right. So our newest of learners, Hutz, Huddz, he says, Salamun alaikum. Does it really matter? Meaning, is it the same as Salam alaikum? Very short answer. It's exactly the same thing. That UN on the end of Salamun is just something that makes the word indefinite, meaning you can apply it to any and every situation. As-salam, you can only apply to Allah. There's nobody else that's going to be As-salam, Ar-Rahman, Al-Qudus. There's nobody else who's going to have a definite article when you address them. If it's an attribute, it's not going to be referring to a person. It'll be referring to Allah. There are other people who can have Al-Muhammad and that kind of thing. And not really even Al-Muhammad. They can be Al-Muhammad, A-A-L, like Ali Muhammad, family of Muhammad, but they can't be the Muhammad. That would be arrogant for any one of us to call ourselves that. Just say Muhammad. You're really Muhammadun. You're just any Muhammad. That's even what Allah calls Muhammad in the Quran. He calls him Muhammadan and Muhammadun, never Al-Muhammad. You have to understand Allah's way of introducing that which in the language is designed to keep us normal in our thinking and not exaggerated like the Iblisian thinking. So that's the first thing. Adam says, when I was talking about the chemicals and such, forever chemicals, fluoride, for instance, heavy metals, all of these things are in your toothpaste and your water supply. So all of which weaken the mind, including sugar and all of its artificial forms. So keep that in mind also. This is the artificial world that has been introduced to us and our children and our children's children. And all of us are victims of it. Myself, yourself, ourselves. You think you get away from eating sugar and then you go have a piece of bread or toast and you're still eating sugar once it converts in your system. So these are things that we have to, and these are the things, learners, that I want you to begin having, you're already masters of this, some of you. That's what your seed cash should be about, what you know. And then just apply, continental connections. You come to me for some help or some of the study buddies for help and keep it moving. And I want every single one of you, especially the new people, to have a study buddy beginning in March so that your progress in Nunetics won't have to be slowed down. Some of you already do it, and some of you meet with me maybe once, twice a week or twice a month. but I have study buddies who know enough to be able to get you on the right foot in terms of Nunetics and make your mind become as excited as you hear mine is and others who speak, Kariem-Abdul Salaam and those, and Waliuddin and William Saafir and Bayina and the rest. These are people who are excited about Nun. I want you to get as excited as they are. Okay. And you new people have been, boy, you've been really, really hanging out tough with us. I don't think any of you have missed a week since you've joined Nawa and others. You're in the queue before I sign on. I see your names pop up. I'm saying, well, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this wonderful? Okay, so Bayina, you have the mic.
Okay. Bismillah. Salam alaikum, everyone. I'm just excited about, I have so many things that I've designed for Nunetics. Games, word games, board games. I got so much stuff, but I'm just going through some issues right now. But I want to just say this. The best way to start the day is with a cup of positivity. And may your day be blessed with abundance of love, joy, peace, and gratitude. As for Nunetics, Nunetics to me is the expansion of the human intellect and all systems of knowledge, the government, economics, education, and culture. It is the expansion of the human intellect. It's a continuous evolution. And I'm so grateful that Allah has allowed me to be a part of this group because you're the most positive people on the planet. Thank you, Allah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
My goodness, who is this woman on the other end of this? Bayina, you have outdone yourself with that one. That is so mind-blowing and so positive. I might have to record it. I might have to play it at the beginning of every class or have you read that off to us at the beginning of every class so we can get our momentum. That is nice. Please keep up the great work. Keep up that great work, young lady. All right.
Alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Nawa.
Thank you for the love, Professor. I keep wanting to call you Professor.
I profess a few things, but I'm trying to build some internal structure here.
Definitely, instructor. I wanted to say the study buddy thing is probably the best thing you could do, especially for the new learners. Yes. I did one session with Michael Chanel, and he did a podcast with professors, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yes.
So I've watched him before and I commented on him. So maybe you pulled from that and you paired me with him, but he was a perfect person for me. And just the little bit of wisdom and just direction he gave me really is going to get me jump started well. So now I'm in class, and while you're teaching, giving us new terms, I'm utilizing the Dictionary of the Holy Quran by Omar.
Yeah.
And it's Arabic to English. And that paired with the Nunetics, reading the Quran, already having my understanding and the things that I already know, when you kind of have all these streams of intelligence all at one time, it just makes everything clear. And now I have a sense of direction. And he likes to give homework because I asked if he could give me homework, and he likes to give homework. So I just think that I highly encourage it. And even for people who already are well aware, I think that if we just continue to do groups and work together outside of what instructor is teaching us, it'll take it to a whole nother level. And I just want to say one quote that I got from Michael Chanel that I just gonna hold with me. Give me 5 seconds. Okay, he said, language opens the door for the abstract to communicate and create from it. Those are his words. And I had to say.
Well, listen, Michael Chanel is one of the best that I have, and most learners don't even know who he is because he's not able to attend the weekly classes. But just to set the record straight, he asked for you. I didn't recommend him to you.
That's Allah.
He saw your video, the one-on-one that you and I did. And he knew that kind of fit his teaching style, the questions you were asking and that kind of thing. And he figured he could jump right in there and be able to bring you up very, very quickly. So I thank Allah for him being that observant.
I thank Allah for him, for you, and this whole experience. And my husband is with me today. He stayed the whole class.
Oh, joy. I have an occasion to use that word several times today. I'm not just happy for that. I'm joyful. That means progress for me. Progress.
Alhamdulillah.
So thank you, my brother, for being with us. And if you have any questions, and I know you're from a Christian orientation, and that's fine, because I'm going to be doing, hopefully by next semester, a seedcast that's dealing specifically with the Bible. We'll be making some comparisons with the Quran, but it's going to be dealing with Bible symbolism and getting the real juice out of the fruit that the Bible brings. A lot of people want to just relegate it to a Sunday in church, and you're not doing it. Not you, of course, but the people who do that, they're not doing the Bible scripture a real service. There's much to be learned and earned from the reading of Bible scripture, both Old Testament and New Testament. And if people would only understand even what the name Bible means, I'm not going to go into that today. I'm going to leave you just kind of salivating on that question. But if you understood what the name Bible means, you'll understand how valuable and precious the information within it happens to be. So we have to stop being so overly critical of people of other religions. And we have to stop being so selfish and hoggish, really, with the information that we're learning as students of the Quran. Because the first thing that I teach you is that the Quran, and it's actually the same principle for the Bible, neither of those books belong to Christians or Muslims. Christian is a later term. Jesus didn't know nothing about no Christian. And Muhammad, the prophet, didn't know nothing about Muslims as we use Muslim in this day and time. It wasn't even a term that was emphasized in the time of Muhammad, 1500 or so years ago. They weren't saying the Muslims and the Christians and the, Allah never says that. He says, "Alladina amanu," those who have accepted faith, and the Jews and the Christians and the Nasara, the Christians. But he doesn't say Muslims, Christians, Jews, because that's not how they understood Muslim back then. They understood Muslim, anybody who was coming to the table to bring their peace so that the whole group could have peace. You could break that peace. If you broke that peace, they didn't consider you to be a part of the Muslims. When you brought the peace back to where it was supposed to be, then they included you again in the Muslim fold. And that's in the sayings of Muhammad. That's in one of the hadiths, that the person who is lying, the person who is corrupt or stealing or whatever, at that moment, it is said in a hadith by Muhammad the Prophet, at that moment he or she are doing that, they're not Muslim. He said until they return to Muslim behavior, then they're back. It's the same thing I've been saying. How many Muslims tell you that from the rostrum? How many preachers will tell you that? That the Muslim guest in the church is as much a faithful and trusted one of God, trusting God, as they are. How many of them will be bold enough to tell you that? It won't give them any converts if they tell you that. They go further and say that if you're not Baptist or Methodist or Episcopalian or Jehovah's Witness or if you're not my sect, then you're not even going to make it into heaven. What kind of foolishness is that? So we're going to be opening up the language window for understanding these Bible terms, these Quran terms, these Torah, Hebrew terms. And believe me, between me and a couple of other people who joined on like Mahir, we are overly qualified to teach you these things. So thank you with that. And Nawa, keep up the good work, the great work, actually.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I really do appreciate the class and all the information that you guys have given today. And I'm definitely learning a lot. I have a lot of questions. I like to sit back and take in as much as possible to be able to formulate what I'm thinking about and things of that nature. So thank you so much.
Certainly. And thank you. And we can do that one-on-one, or we can do that at the end of a class. And you can ask as many questions as you want.
Absolutely.
Totally open. So whichever way is your pleasure, that's the way we'll go. All right.
Inshallah.
All right. So Hood's had one more question here. Is it wrong to say hello, namaste, assalamu alaikum means same people understand the meaning. I'm not, he's English is a little bit broken, but I understand what he's saying. So there are people, especially in the African community, African-American community, who say namaste. There are people in the Indian Vedic community that say namaste. And it's a greeting like hello and peace and that kinds of thing. So he's asking, is it wrong to say that? No, it's not even wrong to say hello. I used to think it was. I thought you were greeting people with hell. I said, stop telling me hello, brother. And I was talking to Imam Muhammad one time. He called me on the phone. I'm not showing off. I had an appointment with him by phone. And I called him actually, gave his name. He said, call me at this 3 o'clock. I called him and he picked up the phone and he said, hello. That blew my mind. I said, I thought hello was asking hell to be in the life of that person. But what we're not understanding, as I said earlier, Allah says in the Quran that He is khair and He only accepts that which is khair, good and useful. So when I started tracing the word hello, I found out that it goes right back to what we were speaking about as the word whole and holistic. Hello is just a word that comes from what they used to call the sun, helio. So people would greet the sun in the morning, that morning light we were talking about in Fujur. There are numbers of people. The women would come out, with their chilling, and people would always get up and they would greet the sun. That's all hello is saying. Hello, sun, light, new light into the world. So no, we're going to stop being bamboozled by these linguistic fakers out here who either don't know better, like I didn't know better at one time, or they know better and they just want to keep everything, iffy and keep you nervous about, about saying things to people. No. And then there's some people who say you can't greet people who are not ones who took Shahada with the term Salam alaikum. You can't say that to a non-believer. So I've heard all of the arguments for that. Well, it depends on what you think that saying is saying. Without getting into the nitty-gritty details of it. If first of all, if they don't speak Arabic, if they're not Muslims and they don't know the phrase, why would you use it in the first place? That's kind of like showing off. I know something you don't know, or I'm going to force you to say it like I said. No, brother, I didn't say hello. I said salam alaikum. You're supposed to say alaikum salam. Who said that? There are Muslims who don't know how to adequately pronounce salam alaikum. So when I know that they don't know, I say greetings. How are you? How are you, brother? How are you, sir? Peace. What's wrong with peace? I've heard Imam Muhammad say that several times. I was in his office once again. He came into the office. He said, he was at the door. I was always in his office, but I could hear him. He said, peace. I mean, he said it real loud. He didn't say peace be upon you. You said, well, you're not supposed to say peace unless you're talking to ignorant people, Jahiliyyah people. You don't understand the nuances that are built into the Quran for those kinds of particular circumstances. I know what the Quran says. Tell them salamun. I know. But that's not what he was doing. He wasn't greeting the ignorant. He was greeting the enlightened, the ones who were supposed to have been enlightened. And that piece that I heard was the same piece I dropped on you today, P-I-E-C-E. Oh, he just walked in the door. Here's another piece coming to join us. He's connecting with the other pieces that he sees in front of us because this man is intending to show you a whole picture, not a partial one, not a racist one. Show you just black people or just Arabs or just Indian people. That's what some of these messages are. They're just racial citadels that are very uninviting when somebody unlike them comes through the door. Certain things they'll stop talking about, like they're Masons and Shriners when you come in. The blacks, they don't need to know this part of it. We're not going to go deep and heavy into the Quran because the blacks are here. They're not going to keep it elementary. Boy, you're making a mistake there. We can teach you something. So don't be like that. See people as human, humus minds that have been gingerly sprinkled with water content, humus. That's all it means is moisture. Moisture man. That's what you are, moisture man. Because you need that moisture for your thoughts to grow. You need to be planted deeply and securely into the soil or the soul so that you'll get that level of growth that the Creator designs for you. So don't get caught up in these nuances of language, who speaks it, what the best language is. The best language is the language of the fitrah. That's what Arabia is. It's the language of Mother Nature, not the language of an ethnic group, which they themselves have not settled yet on how the language even got here and how it was designed and all of those other things. They're still trying to prove that Arabic is the oldest language on earth. I say big deal if it is. That means nothing if it's the oldest language on earth. Who's the oldest human type on earth? Or they're not even here anymore. Paleo this and whatever. So what, they're the oldest? What does that have to do with quality? Boy, we got a long way to go. Anyway, any other questions? Give you 5 seconds, then we're going to close out.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, soldier. How are you?
I'm thankful, brother, man, to
All
the
right.
New Native family. I'm thankful for the New Native family just to be a part or to be a side listener. I try to contribute as best I can in my practice of living this religion as best I can under the circumstances, these environmental circumstances. My increase in understanding of Al-Islam through continental connection because of Nunetics and the insight it brings in dealing with the Quranic revelation and similar languages where they have continental connection in the people in my association, people who are mostly around, most people try to get better circumstances to live under. But it works. It brings life and a higher understanding of getting some of those jokes off our necks. That bad understanding had given up for misinterpretation and bad interpretation and outright fraud and deceit. And Nunetics and continental connection and the interpretation given by this community or by this mission remove those burdens. And I'll stand correcting if I'm wrong, but I thank Allah for it. And I thank Allah for the correction if I need any. Salam alaikum to the believers, to the family, and to all supporting people. People who have good, regardless of what denomination here, Nunetics, the continental connection, bring a clear understanding, and especially when we hook it up with the Quranic voices. It relieved the yokes off the necks. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Tell us how old you are again, sir. Or how young you are. Hassan.
I'm 85, and I exercise, but when the weather be kind of flimsy, like, and you can't really get out, it don't take them old muscles a long time to draw back up, so it keep you, as long as you can go, you can go. But now when you got to miss 2-3 days or so because of bad weather, you got to pay for it. But I'm all right, though. I'm thankful.
Well, I know, I hear it in your voice. I can read frequencies, remember.
Yeah.
And listen, I was sent a picture of you today by our friend Wali Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we had a Black History.
Yeah.
But they name it Black History, but it's human history.
There you go.
And as long as they keep it divided, we're going to have this problem.
That's right.
It's a human problem, and you just can't forget about it. It's got to be expressed.
Yeah.
It got to be put into the public so that the people can just see the deceit of the devil, that mentality that works against human dignity.
Yeah.
And Nunetic is making all that possible.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. I'm loving
it. That's what Nunetic is doing, is bringing us the scientific expression from continental connection with the Arabic script.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to give credit to where credit is due, and that is because of the works of the 33 years of straight teaching done by Imam W.D. Muhammad. There are many people in his association who are now imams or just regular people who attend the masjid who have very unique and special ways of presenting that logic also. So it's not just a Nunetics phenomenon. It's a phenomenon based on the times that we're living in and the gifts that Allah has showered upon many of us who are teaching. Some of us are just teaching our family and a small community of people, and they're saying more significant things than some who are speaking to thousands every week, So I'm not trying to isolate us. I'm not trying to create a sect or some type of thing that has never happened before in history. So listen to me, don't listen to anybody else. That's crazy. And I know none of you want that for what we're doing. We want the world to be able to hear from what we're doing, because I believe that this is actually the fastest method of intellectual development as a system of knowledge. Nunetics is probably the best suited to get you where you say you want to go more quickly than just weekly attending the masjid or studying the Quran on your own or that kind of thing. But we have some very genuine hearts, some very genuine leaders who are doing their best with what they have. And I believe that if they have not gravitated yet towards Nunetics, it's just a matter of time if they are sincere people, which in the earlier conversation today, I called it pure. As long as your soul remains pure, you're going to eventually come into this one way or another, and you'll know it when it happens. So thank you to those of you who have been with this for these many years and for these many weeks now. Some of you have been here for weeks, and you are so enthralled, so enthusiastic, and we're going to build upon that purity. Trust me, what you're going to see coming out of this class, the efforts that you see when many of you start to teach your own CEDCAS programs, many of you as Amina Adcock has already done. She's already authored a book. Got some others. Karima is working on a book for children's book based on Nunetics. A lot of good things are going to be coming out of this, so just stay tuned. I want to get to a couple of other comments or questions that happened while I was answering the other questions. Hoods again says, Salaam alaikum. He asked, was Khidr above prophets? He had more knowledge than Musa. This is what the scholars trick you into believing. That's me talking now. The scholars trick you into believing that this character called Khidr was above all of the prophets because he had more knowledge than Musa. And I would say not to spend your energy and time on that kind of foolishness. First of all, there's no person or character in the Quran called El-Khidr. That's a name that the scholars invented. Allah never calls that man who met up with Musa on his journey. He never refers to him as Khidr or El-Khidr or the green one as they see. They're talking symbolism. They're talking stages in the development of the chakras. You got to understand who did the interpretation of these Qurans. People in Persia who were influenced by people in Iran. Oh, that is Persia. People in where am I thinking now? India and southern India. They were influenced by these people in their languages. So they took names out of those languages and those stories that they know we would never find out about. And they started just inserting them into hadiths and telling you in the Quran, when you see Allah speak about this person, his name's not in there, but his name is Al-Khidr. If his name was Khidr, how come Allah didn't tell us that? Why need you to tell me that? And why is that important? And how did he end up having more knowledge than the prophets? Is that in the Quran? And if he had more knowledge than the prophets, does that make him greater than Musa, who they say had all of the? They were trying to put the emphasis on people who know stuff so that you'd fall in love with their scholarship. That's plain and simple what they're doing. Never fall for that trick. Read the story of Musa for yourself, and you'll see that this has nothing to do with the man who was teaching him. The man who was teaching him, and I'm going to say something really weird now, you can believe it or not, I'm not going to explain it tonight. The man who was teaching Musa, that told him, you cannot be patient with me, that man was inside of Musa. That brother that you're referring to, Harun, they call him Aaron, the one who was holding Musa's staff while Musa went to go deal with the biggest, baddest dude in the land called the Pharaoh. The brother who was with him that Musa asked to be with him. He said, can I take my brother because my tongue is a little bit, I'm a stutterer. I might make a mistake trying to talk to Pharaoh. Can I take Aaron? He's erudite. He's knowledgeable. See, this is telling you something about people who have knowledge. Allah said, yeah, you take him with you. But in the end, when you read the story, you see that Aaron didn't do anything after that. In the Bible, Aaron is the one who threw the staff at Pharaoh's army. In the Quran, he doesn't even do that. He just accompanies Musa. And it says, Musa flung the staff. And it became a serpentine power, serpentine energy. And Allah says that it ate up all of the falsehoods that Pharaoh's people faked. So he's telling you it's not a real snake. He's telling you it's knowledge. It ate up all of the falsehoods. A snake eats falsehoods? What is that? No, you have to hear what's being said. So it has nothing to do with how much knowledge Musa had. That's those wily tricksters in the Quran giving you these weird interpretations. That brother Harun was already educated within the context of Musa's delivery, his language. He already had it, is what Allah was saying. That's why you didn't need no physical brother with you. Because everything you need, just like in the Quran, everything you need is already in the Quran. You don't need no hadith. That's another thing that thing is saying. In saying you really don't need it, brother. Hey, take them with you if you want. You can spout a hadith or two along the line. But you don't need no hadith to defend this Quran. Just like Musa didn't need no Aaron. And if you understand what I've been saying about the AR-HR connection, Hara, Harun, Heru, hero, in ancient Egypt, Heru, Horus. If you understand those HR connections, you know automatically what Harun means and what it was dealing with. So stick with it. And the Hutz is new. He's not yet inundated, but familiar enough with what we've been saying. He could be, though, if you would just look at the rest of those videos I have on YouTube. All of this is in there. Just got to take your time and be patient with yourself. All right. So that's that. Has nothing to do with Moses. The Quran is not even talking about Moses as a person. The Bible is not even talking about Moses as a physical individual in history. Abraham as an individual in history. These are prototypes that are being introduced into the world of factors and the influences that are already in every one of us. There's a Musa in you, there's an Ibrahim in you, there's an Adam in you, there's an Iblis in you, there's a Shaitan in you, there's a Fir'aun in you, there's a Shu'aib in you. All of these that are introduced in the Quran are character types or archetypes of properties and personalities that any human being can come into, and what to do in case the wrong one gets in. How do you handle it when Iblis gets in you? That's what the Quran is for. It's not a history book. It's a book about you and your wonderful human properties that Allah said you've been created fi ahsani taqweem, in the most excellent of organizational designs. What do you think those designs are? They are these prototypes, these attitudes, these emotional dispositions, these intellectual, highfalutin kinds of ways that some of us see ourselves. Fir'aun, he elated himself in the earth. How do you elate something that's in the earth? That's what Allah wants you to ask when you see something strange. Say, huh? Pharaoh elated himself, meaning he blew up fil ard, in the earth. Allah is telling the truth on him. He ain't high and mighty like he told you. The president, the governor, the mayor, the bishop, the city councilwoman, these people are not what they're presenting themselves as in media, like they're bigger than all of us. They can just pass a law, not ask us about anything, spend up all of our taxpayer money. That's what those stories are there to tell us, that they are not what you think they are. They're ruling over you by abracadabra. They are magicians. That's what the Bible and the Quran calls them. In the Bible, it's called pharmaceutica. That sound familiar? That's what these magicians were. They were pharmaceutica. And today, what's ruling over most of us are pharmaceuticals. All those drugs we dying from over there at the border and in the United States now, fentanyl and all that, that's pharmaceutica. That's the same magic that they practiced 5,000 years ago on those people. So we got a lot to learn there, obviously. We got a lot to tell you. We got a lot to learn. And I'm going to take my time doing it. When Allah calls me, then I shut my eyes on this and somebody else picks it up and continues. That's the way this thing goes. So with, alhamdulillah. So that's all we're going to entertain for today. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. And you guys have to go also. I can hear your wives and your children and your husbands calling you. So let's do them justice also. As I greet you in the greetings of peace that obligate each and every one of us to keep the peace.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
Yeah, great comments.
Shukran.
Yeah, Begin is going to
Thank
send
you.
us the comments and I'll put them in the replay when I send it to all of you.
Okay.
Thank you, Begin. All right. For all the work you do, the soft work, background work that you do. Thank you for that.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Salamun alaikum to you all.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
All right.